Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Hey guys, I'm hoping this is going to work. I'm totally hoping this is going to work. This better work. Here we go. In 3, in 2, in 1. It's working! Yes, it's working! Woo! We're working. We are working. Hello guys. Hello. And welcome to the Makers Podcast. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hello Honeypenny. Hello Jama. Hello Seskimo. Hello Drive. How are we all doing? Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to the Isolation Station. Isolation Station E, as it is. Not quite back at the workshop just yet. We'll be from Monday. I will be back. Be ready for it all. Hey K-Dog, how's it going? How's it going? Hope you're doing well. So yeah, we're all sorted for this. 6 months in the making, at least 6 months in the making. Literally had to have Drive. Thank you for those biddies. Thank you. It's finally happening. Finally, yeah. If I had to go into isolation to make this happen. But we've done it. We've got it going. Isolation. Exactly, Honeypenny. Isolation. But yes. We're here and it's gonna go. We're gonna have some fun. We've got an amazing guest to start it off, you know. And you know, can't ask for a better guest. I'm just gonna turn the music off. Because we only had the music on just to start off. You know. And then it was totally just there, just for starting. But yes, it's, you know, so we got to do the proper introduction for today's guest. It's only 1 o'clock here. It's tonight for him because he is on the other side of the world from me. It's past midnight for him, so he's staying up late. Though, you know, he's a night owl. He's totally a night owl. Time is relative. He's totally time is relative, Honeypenny. Totally. But yeah. His mic is not muted, even though I think he thinks his mic is muted. I totally forgot to
on
mute
the
his
laugh
mic.
track.
He's totally a laugh track. So yes, you know, my standard introduction for him is, he is the master of puppets. He is the Pixel King. He is the chillest man on Twitch. One man in a boat. He is the one, the only DioramaLama. Oh.
Yeah, hang on.
Oh
I'm
no,
here.
where is
Hang
he?
on,
Where is he? We've lost him.
I was in the bath.
He's in the bath.
No, I was in the bath. Hang on a second. I am here. So here I am.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's all right. We're here. Hang on, we'll get up there. Hang on here. All right.
Oh.
Well, hang on, got it in wrong. Hang on, we're going forward. Hang on, catch me.
You know, there's 3-point parking now.
Oh,
3-point parking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah.
I'm good.
You sure? You know, you're on the line. You're on the line, right?
I'm level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did it. You actually did it, mate.
I know.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I believed in you the entire time.
The entire time. Oh, can I boost my mic? My mic. Am I? Is Lama a bit loud? Let me fix levels.
I can push mine away.
I will fix levels. I thought I'd fix the levels. Where is he? Let me find Lama.
That's what happens when you're in the bath. Everything sounds a bit louder.
Yeah. Let me fix me. There we go. Am I a bit better now? Do I sound better? How's that?
And I'll talk as well. Testing.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah.
Yeah. You fixed the levels while I was submerged.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
It's totally while Llama was still under the water. So yeah. So guys, premise of this podcast literally is to show off the amazing, amazing creative people that are on Twitch. And well, you can't have an amazing creative person talk about amazing creative people on Twitch without talking about DioramaLama. That way. It's that side. It's that side. No, it's that side. I'm useless at pointing. I can't point.
Yeah, that way.
Love cat. And
Nice.
Jimmy Burks, how we doing? How we doing, guys? So, guys,
We're good. We've been on here for an hour already.
Yeah, we've been having a great chat. Yay, give me car. How you doing? So, how are you doing, Llama? How's it going? How's life in the sub?
I'm doing good. Yeah, there. It's pretty good. It's Lady Llama she just screamed before, like literally 3 minutes before we started. There was a spider in the bathtub, but you know, hopefully she can keep the noise down, and we'll get through this.
If Llama has to run away, and well,
it's fine.
You know, and well, the thing is, will you keep to the bit as per normal and ruin your back? We'll try to get out the seat. You know.
Oh, well, I can always just go here. Like if you, like we can just do that. That's a bit more classic DioramaLama, isn't it?
Exactly. This is the one man in a boat.
Yeah. That's a bit more classic. There's just me in the boat in this one.
Yeah,
there's nobody else here.
Yeah, it's a space robot.
Yeah, we're in Mark 3.
Exactly. Number 3. Yeah. So the thing is, what happens if I say the word kittens?
Yeah, nothing. I'm not streaming.
Oh.
Do you have my bot running?
Damn it. Doesn't work. Does it work if you say it on this channel?
No, I can say mittens, kittens and mittens.
Oh.
Mittens. It's probably the only time I will ever be able to say. Yeah. You don't invite your bot to someone else's channel. You don't cross the bots, Laser.
Yeah, we can't cross the bots, right? That's fine. Can't cross bots. We're all good. See, there'll be no exploding bots today.
Driver's very disappointed. Oh. I know. I can tell. I can feel it. I can feel the shock waves from Canada.
So you know, for anyone that's in the channel that's never seen you, Llama, can you just give everyone an idea of what your channel's about?
Okay. I don't know. I have no idea. I will know in about a year, I reckon. I don't know. There's a lot of people in Makers and Crafters who are like, I know what I'm doing. I've got this machine. This is what I do. I'm a wood turner. That's it. That's I don't have that luxury. I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I'm sure it'll be different to what we're currently doing. And I'm sure we won't finish a lot of things because we will move on to more exciting things. But it's an evolution of experiments with Twitch. That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah. So what sort of things have you done on your stream? You know,
what have I done? I think when I started, I was trying to do. I came in thinking it was sort of the art. Really, I didn't discover Makers and Crafting. It was kind of that came later. Timber and You was the one that really opened me up to that. That was like, hang on a minute. I resonate with these people a bit more than these artist people I've been hanging out with for my first 5 days of streaming. And then just found the community I love, even though I do dabble in music and art, and I'm all over the shop with categories now. But I resonate the most with Makers and Crafters. It's what I've done my whole life, and it's just such a beautiful community as well. And I think that's something to be celebrated. I'm glad you're doing it. You are the man for the job, to celebrate all the makers. So my hat's off to you, especially.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's one of those categories that I've always found that, once you're in it, the community is just so welcoming. And everyone's...
Yeah, the fact, I think it's one of the rare ones where everyone's hanging out in everyone else's stream.
Yeah.
literally. In terms of community, like we can't all get to each other's, but it's a delight when you can, and I think that's that's the real meaning of community. I don't think even Twitch itself, and especially a lot of the bigger streamers, the performing streamers, the just chatting streamers. I'll leave the gaming streamers out of it, but I don't think they even realize that how much we've done with what Twitch can offer us, and that because I hear YouTube videos complaining about Twitch, and every time I listen to that, I'm like, yeah, but you haven't been in Makers and Crafting. You haven't seen what we've done with our little pocket of the universe. So, yeah, and I think that's something to be. I think, especially with so much going on in Twitch at the moment, I think it's something for us as a community to really understand that we are the community, not Twitch, and to get together more off Twitch and connect on social media and just in case the shit hits the fan. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, you can swear. Don't worry.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't worry. I've got the mature filter on.
Cool. Right. Righto. I'll talk Aussie.
You can totally talk Aussie.
But yeah. So just in case the shit hits the fan, like it does with all platforms, but it's like we will still be a community, the people who have connected here, and I think that's important. We've got Discord, we've got people don't like Twitter, but if you turn off all your Twitters and you connect with just the Makers and Crafting streamers, it's a beautiful place to be on Twitter. So yeah. I can see you drive. I can see you over there drive.
Oh yeah. By the way, guys, in chat, if you want to ask questions, go ahead. There is also a redeem, because we might miss questions because we'll be too busy chatting, but there's a redeem in the channel points for asking questions as well.
And I have some I have some show notes here as well, so I can keep an eye on. There you are, Drive. I'm watching you. Yeah, there he is. I'll keep an eye on Drive. You do the talking for a bit.
Yeah. So Zornoff there was saying Twitch was set up by gamers, and a few years back the head guy was given serious consideration to get rid of Makers and Crafting altogether and keeping it to gaming. So glad they didn't. Yeah, exactly.
We don't make them any money.
Yeah.
We don't make them any money.
Yeah.
I think in terms of the amount of creative streamers who don't have many subs and who just love hanging out because they're already doing their art, we use up the bandwidth and we don't make them money. So that's, they're going to go where that is. So we've got to stick together.
So one thing I have started to notice is that the channel has started to grow. Like the last kind of since lockdown, I think, kind of March time, the entire category has had a good boost in kind of numbers, which has been a good thing. Again, people have been picking up crafts, or because we've had more time to pick up, to not have, to not, you're not working as much, or you're at home more. You've had the chance to go, oh, I could stream it, which has been good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think too, there should be a lot more artists and hobbyists and crafters using it, because so many don't know about it. There's still, especially in Australia, we're way behind America and even the UK and Europe. Most of the artists I know, if I mentioned this platform to them, they would go, what is that? They wouldn't even go, is that something for gamers? They'd go, what is that? And then the second thing they would do would be like, once I explained what it was, it would make sense to them. They're sitting at home doing their art and craft. It's like, well, why not have a community around you while you're doing it? So
yeah, very much so.
So it will grow.
Oh,
yeah, I think definitely, for sure, it'll keep growing because of that. Yeah,
because from my own perspective, until I was told Twitch had a creative section, I had no clue. I was like, oh no, Twitch is just for gaming. And I think that's definitely that thing where Twitch is still perceived, because it's 99.95% gaming, because even just chatting is still mostly about gaming, because it's where they go before they do their games.
Yep.
You know, it's
Definitely.
still...
And they might discover, it's the gamers who will discover stuff on the platform. Twitch is not good at discovery. Like it's like I said, it's a gamer might come in and go, oh, there's this other side of Twitch, that kind of stuff. But in terms of us being discovered by our proper tribe, they're not on Twitch, until they get here, until they find out someone, you were introduced to it. And I was talked into it by Lord of Wolf, Cuz. I call him Cuz, not that he's my cousin, but he was like my first. He was the guy that actually said, just turn the camera on. And I think that's one of the greatest things. And I want to echo Honeypenny's chat there, because that sums it up beautifully. The fact that what Makers and Crafting specifically has done with this platform is turn it into a social platform.
Yes.
More so than any other category.
Very much.
You get a crochet person hanging out with a woodworker. You'll get a woodworker hanging out in a clay screen, a sculpting stream, and vice versa. Even the music, the guitarists tend to raid the guitarist, and vocalists with vocalists, and then you get into art, and then it breaks up even more. And I think Makers and Crafters, we all just hang out together, and I think that's, a good. Just wanted to echo that. That's perfect.
So, what was the very first thing you streamed?
The first, it was actually I just bought a digital pad for digital art, and I went into the art category, and that's what Cuz was doing. So Lord of Wolf from Canada was doing an art stream, and he had really shitty audio, like terrible audio. Music playing in the background on a boombox. He was I think he was half pissed, drunk, and he was just hanging out, and he was doing his art, and I was hanging out with him, and he convinced me to take the ego out of it and just turn the camera on. Don't give a shit. Turn the camera on. No one's going to watch, he said. No one's going to watch you on your first stream. And sure enough, my first stream was just him, like he was watching. And I streamed Seven Samurai. I did the final scene where there's 3 samurai still alive and the 4 graves. And I did an art piece of that, which I think we've got a slide coming up for that at some point. But that was my first stream, and I was really nervous. I was extremely body conscious. Like I can remember pulling because I'm a little bit, my arms are a bit skinny and stuff like that. And I had this long sleeve trackie on, and I kept pulling my sleeves down, and I was so nervous. I was so freaked out by being on TV.
It's that bit. It's being on that, turning on that camera
without a script.
Yeah, we've got We've got slides coming up and everything. Totally profesh, totally proper prop.
Oh, we are proper prop. That's what we are.
Yeah, we've got to get prop over now. Prop's totally going to get over. Yeah.
So that was the first stream, and then we kind of went from there. But and it was the community that really slowly came in for me, and I love those days. They will be legendary, and the people who first came in. Trez was the first one to come in. Trizcat was the first one to come in after Cuz. I think I found her stream actually first, and then she came to mine. And that's what I love about the Makers and Crafting is people will do that. If you hang out in someone's stream, they will come and hang out in yours. And if there's any click between you, if there's any kind of we kind of resonate a little bit, cool. The support is what I'm talking about. Go the support.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because I found you via Timber New. That's how I found you. Because you were just chatting.
Yeah, we clicked immediately.
It was, because he gave you a shout out, and I'm like, oh, what's he making? And you just started making your diorama, your bookshelf diorama, which we'll get into a bit later, and that's in one of the slides as well, isn't it?
That's inside, yeah. But I think too, and we just clicked, and that's what I'm talking about. By we clicked with some of our history of gaming and tabletop gaming and that kind of stuff, creatively. And I'd previously, I think my second stream was laser cutting, putting a laser cutting kit together. I didn't actually cut it, but I was putting one of those together, and That was just before you arrived, and and then we started gaming. We started gaming together, and there's not a week goes past where we haven't spoken like 3 or 4 times, which has been fantastic. So
and it's been it's been a wild ride, because we've kind of came as you always say, we've came in on the same donkey.
Yeah, we did. We were riding that poor old donkey with the 3 people watching. and I think that's important too, because I think you do that where you resonate with that type of person in the community. You need to be following the people that have only just crossed the bridge or are crossing the bridge with you, because the guy who crossed the bridge 3 months ago, everything's changed, or they're forgotten. They can't. You see people on YouTube being the guru of Twitch. It's like they can't advise a maker and crafter, and they can't advise a maker and crafter who's still yet to get 100 follows, because it's changed. We're on a different bridge, and it's been a long time since they were on that bridge.
Yeah,
and the fact that we crossed that bridge on the same donkey was legendary.
And that's the thing. Like, even like that span of a year and a half now, Makers and Crafting has changed significantly, really, just in terms of kind of viewer numbers and just the general community. There was always there's always been that community, which has always been amazing. And we've all, it's because it's always been that small community. Everyone's like, we need to help each other, which has been great. But it was still a lot harder to get that first 50 followers, and get the three average, and
the 3 average, and so hard to get used to talking to nobody. That's a hard thing to do, and yet a person with 1,000 followers is talking to nobody. It's only us people in the middle now, really, that are doing it the hard way, where we're talking to everybody in our chats. And I think that's a cool thing that we do. I think that, and I think we can always do that with Makers and Crafting. I don't think we'll ever be kind of like hyping out too much. To the fact that our chats are scrolling, we're not talking to anybody. We're just sitting there knitting and not talking to chat. That's not really going to happen in Makers and Crafting.
No,
so,
which is always a good thing.
It's very different.
And that's the thing. Like, and Makers and Crafting is never going to be at a point where you can just go in and get affiliate really easy. But it's as long as you do the work and go in and be a community person, it's a lot easier, because as long as you're in there and speaking to people, it's and getting yourself involved, there's plenty more people that are going to be willing to go into your chat, into your stream, and watch you now, which is the great thing. And and that's so lovely. And as Sonar says, I'm getting good at picking it too. Like I'm good at picking people where I'll come into someone's chat and go, yeah, you're the kind of person who will support other people's channels. Because there's some people out there that just won't. They're doing their thing. They're not playing the community game. Their channel's not growing, and they don't understand what it is. It's a social platform. Yeah, very much so. And that's the good thing, is doing that social thing. I know Zarnaf saying partner for Makers and Crafting is almost impossible. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think it is. I think it's a matter of time. Triz is here.
Hey, Triz. And also, hi, Lovecat. Hi, Zarnaf. Hi, Michi. Say hello to everyone. Hi, Russ. If I missed you guys. If I missed anyone else. But
Triz is a good one who understands it for me. It's like she's on the same wavelength with that. And even though she wasn't on our donkey, she was pretty much just ahead of us a little bit.
Donkey behind her in front of us, I
think she's in front of us. Yeah, as a pink and blue baby blue donkey in front of us. I'm pretty sure that was Triz's. But she knows understand what we're talking about, which is that thing of community and understanding that this is, someone asked me the other day, so how do I go about streaming on Twitch? And I said to them, you hang out there. That's it.
Yep.
Rule number 2, see to rule number 1, that's it. Just go hang out there. Like if you're not hanging out there, then you're not, it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. Because, I had no intentions really of streaming to start with. I was just hanging out and seeing cool people make stuff. And then,
same.
And then I saw people making stuff and I'm like, I make stuff. I do, and I make stuff on my own. I could do with having, some people to chat to. And that was the basis of me starting my stream in the end, was just some people to chat to while I make stuff.
Yeah,
and
that's what happened with me and Cuz. Was he was streaming at the time, and I was hanging out with him. And this is the thing: he's got the mic, and I've got a keyboard. And then suddenly, when he came into my stream for the first time, my very first stream, I was able to take the mic now and fill in all the gaps of all the things I wanted to say when I was watching his stream. And it's kind of like a conversation. It's broken up between 2 streams. And that was it. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to have Cuz come in and so I could have the mic and talk to him, and we riffed and connected. And then I found Triz was the second person that I'll call part of my community that ever came in, found her stream, and then she did the same. She started hanging out because she's social like that. So
yeah. And that, but like just going back to things like Partner, there is enough people now within the kind of makers and crafting sphere that there can be, a partner push for people if they were to try it. Like,
yep.
There's people like Texas Hula who could so be going for Partner, if he wanted to do it, I don't know if he wants
Texas,
to go for it, but he could.
Calamity will get there.
Yeah,
because she'll want to. Calamity will get there.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. You'll get there. I put you third on that list because there's no one in this community I know that hangs out more in the makers and crafting than you do. Like you're just in everyone's. You just know everyone's. You just pop around. You're always like, and this is the love of it. You're always looking for that. Oh, what's this person doing? Yeah, it's a matter of time. Yeah. It's a matter of time too, because it is growing and it will grow, and because it makes perfect sense for makers and crafters to be streaming. That's the golden rule underneath it. Is it actually just as long as the platform stays alive? I know plenty of artists who are sitting at home lonely while they're painting or whatever they're doing, and it's if they knew about it, they would. They just don't know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's up to us too as a community off Twitch to kind of, don't be afraid of promoting someone else. Don't be afraid of talking up the community. Don't try and keep it all to yourself, because if we can bring in more makers and crafters to start streaming, that's the audience. The biggest audience in any stream in makers and crafters is actually streamers every single time.
And the thing is that those people generally know other people that they will bring.
Yeah.
It's it's like a virus. Yeah,
we are. We are a virus.
It multiplies out, and that's how it builds. And it's a good kind of virus. It's the one that you want.
I think what makes it good with makers and crafting a little bit different to art and commission stuff and music, because music's kind of a profession. At its core, makers and crafting is a hobby. Yeah. And I'm not saying all, but the majority of makers and crafters are doing it because they're doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And they're not out trying to suck it dry or market it or how can I game it or how can I twist this. They're actually they're just trying to hang out. They're just trying to be social.
And they're doing it for the fun of it and the enjoyment of making things.
Yeah.
And
that's the other thing. It's fun streaming. I love it. I just love streaming. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
You never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen
Oh, totally.
in your stream, in someone else's stream, and in the chat. It's good fun.
Oh, you can never tell. Something stupid is always going to go down. You're either going to say something stupid, someone's going to take what you say in some weird, unknown way, and you're going to go down that rabbit hole, and who knows where it ends up. Where's the weirdest rabbit hole you've went down so far, Llama?
Oh no! Can I talk about it? Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
I googled, not Google. I went. I thought you could do a thing where you could search for VODs. I thought it had a good system. It doesn't. Okay, so don't try it. But I went in and I looked for Puppet. And I was wondering whether anyone was doing actually any puppetry and stuff like that. And so I go into this stream, and there's this guy there. And he's sitting in a room with no furniture behind him and a bare floor. And he has this puppet in his hand, and he's trying to get the puppet to talk to him. But there's another voice in his head, right? And it sounded like he was listening to, how when you have a friend on Discord, but you can't hear them on the stream, because he was talking to this other person, right? And it's like, and there's this full-on conversation, and it was getting nasty, and they were getting pretty heated. And I was fascinated, and it took me about 15 to 20 minutes to realize that the other voice was in his head, and then the third one was the puppet, and I didn't know which was whether this was a mental health thing or whether this was a performance, or I was really starting to freak out and back away, because things got really, really weird and a little bit spooky, and I was like, and really pushed the limits of my tolerance for a creep. My ability to tolerate the creepiness that was starting to go on with where the topic was going about women and girls. And I was just like, whoa, what's in the basement, mate? And I just backing out. Oh, and I think that was the last time I ever went down the searching VODs. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like a crazy one to go down. Totally. Oh, yeah. So just going back to your channel, your channel has changed over the last 18 months now. From especially from when I first started into your channel, when you were making dioramas, you've kind of had an evolution over the time,
because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't come into this with I'd retired from my career, and I was like, I can do anything. I still can. Like I love exploring new things, but it has changed, yeah. But I like to think about the other way, is that it was always changing. It's just that for 6 months there, we bogged down into dioramas, and we got stuck on dioramas for a diorama, one diorama that got bigger and complicated. And this is my brain, like my brain creatively. I've done it all my life. I've done it for a profession. I create musically, I create visually, I create with dance, I create with, because, puppetry is a profession that includes them all. You have to paint, you have to sculpt, you have to wood carve, you have to do sewing, costuming, you have to do performance, script writing, emceeing. It just goes on and on and on. Dance is a big thing in puppetry. And so I think my brain gets a little bit too fast for my hands, and I can't keep up. And I have to, that's why I do pixel art now. It's a restriction. I need restrictions. Please put restrictions on me. Yeah. I can't be boxed, but I do need a box. But I don't want to be in a box, but I actually need to be in a box.
Yeah, but you've created some amazing stuff within your stream. In fact, you've created yourself practically an entire world within your entire stream now. You know.
Yeah, and characters, running
Yeah.
characters. There's a backstory, and so having a look at chat there, so I box myself totally.
Yep.
Having boundaries. I don't know if I have boundaries. I don't finish much on my stream, and I've learned to stop saying I'm going to do this, and actually just say, I've got to teach myself to say, oh well, I'm just, because people come to my stream and they're like, what are you working on? And my answer now always has to be, this is what the doctor told me to say. He said I have to say I'm experimenting with this, which means tomorrow we'll never see it again. It's like, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I play with as much as what Twitch can do. I enjoy, a lot of the puppets that I have. Can we, like this guy, I won't do his voice, but this guy here, there are this guy, well, some of them have more 20 keys. This one has like 30 keys hotkeyed up to scenes and switching things off in OBS. And we can get him kind of, talking and moving things and have his eyebrow moving, and he can kind of look down and he can shush people. And then, of course, his favorite is to look into my eyes, Lisa.
No,
hypnotize people on stream.
No, I'm not looking into your eyes, Max. There's no hypnotizer on my stream either.
So that kind of stuff is where I have fun. That's, to me, that's that's very fast way to do puppetry for me. Yeah. A lot of the puppets that I use on the stream, were made in a day. Dimitri, one day, doesn't have much, talking about Ababella, oh, I love how you smell like Nutella. That's what's one day of getting an old oil painting and popping it, cutting it out and doing all the sections. It looks simple, but it's actually a lot more going on just to get that working. But it was fast, and I was enjoying the speed. I need that. I need to finish things, have fun with things.
So how long does it normally take you to kind of create something like a puppet?
Yeah, in the old days, wood carving a puppet would take up to 3 months, because you have to plan it, you have to work out its engineering, structural, the weighting has to be engineered so the walk doesn't look weird, and certainly you have to have hidden strings that do special things. Then you have to wood carve it and get the weights right when you're carving it, and then you have to paint, do wigs as well. Costuming. I did a lot of this solo. I was a solo puppeteer, so it can take up to 3 months to do one puppet in a makers and crafting world. For me to do it digitally, it's a day. Yeah, it's one day.
Can I just get you just to refresh your camera? Just you're going a wee bit pixelated on my side. Sometimes it's just that's more just the feed, I think, from your end.
Okay.
If you pop out and pop back in, you can see
into
and the whereby.
Oh, I see what I got to do. Yeah. In the whereby. Okay.
There we go.
Did it work?
Not really, but we'll work with it. Don't worry, it'll probably come back in a minute.
Okay. Cool.
Love cat. You just summed me up. I don't want to be in a box, but I need to be in a box. I need to be in a box. Lol. Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. When you get something, create something that you can be so creative with, you do get so many possibilities that you can't just go off in so many tangents at once, and not having those boundaries can just lead you to kind of go, oh, I'm doing this, but then you all of a sudden just go over here, and I've been prone to do that as well. I've been like, oh, I want to do this, but then I want to go over here and to get this made, and and then I've forgotten all about that for like 3 months, and it's it doesn't work.
I
Having those boundaries does help.
think so. Yeah, I think I liken it to what I do a lot of pixel art stuff now. Can animate kind of pixel art stuff, which is what you're seeing here. It's all pixels because, I run out of. There's no. I can't get in Photoshop. On the other end of the extreme, there's so many brushes and filters and things, and you can get more brushes and you can import plugins and you can do all sorts of stuff. And to do a piece of art, it's like you got unlimited. You're just not restricted. And the problem I have with that is I'll complicate it and be like, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that, and I'll keep adding things all the time. And I could do this with it. And pixel art keeps me in a nice box. So yeah, we tend to do a bit more pixel art stuff on the stream nowadays. So.
Yeah.
I'll just try to fiddle with my camera for a little bit. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know what's happening with that.
Yeah, it's sometimes just whereby being weird.
Whereby being weird.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes my lunch.
Oh, what's up? there's a penny name.
Yeah. There's a panini.
Yep.
Luckily, it wasn't a Paganini, but
there's one. But it's that is the fun thing about your stream is a lot of the time you don't know what's going to happen on your stream because it depends on what mood you're in as well.
Yeah.
And that's always the thing. You'll depending on what day you're in. You'll just be like, I'm doing this today, and this is what's happening, and we'll come in.
There's days where you won't, especially some of the female characters, you won't get a Betty, just not feeling like it, not feeling like doing the female voice and stuff. And it's, Max will turn up at some point during a stream, usually, especially if we get a newcomer and we just want to freak them out. And they wonder what they've just walked into, which I love doing. But some of them are easy and some of them are difficult, and to get them all talking together is scripted. So that stuff that takes a little bit of effort, and that's very special. I like it to be special as well. Mark Cord's coming. Doing a laser call.
Yeah, no laser call here. No laser call. I'm here. I'm already here. You've called me.
Yeah.
But that's the thing as well. For you creating these worlds and these puppets, like if you are, voice is going, if you are putting on a show as such, is that bit where you're having to create a whole script for it, and that's something that will take you time, I assume. Yeah,
it takes a long time, and it gets burnt like any comedy. If you've only got a regular viewership, 20 people coming through, which it's kind of where I like it. It's a cozy number, and it's they've seen the joke, and so it's something I'll probably pull back. It's something I'll save a little bit for if the channel grows and stuff like that, and the numbers sort of get up and we get lots of news people. So I'll pull it in for new people when they come in, and we'll pull out the puppets as a special treat and stuff like that. And if I get around to new material, I'll write it. But yeah, it is, that stuff's a lot of work. And sometimes I just, I want to be the maker and the artist and just kick back and chill, like, and do the job, do some art, do some craft.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, what we're going to do is, actually, no, before we do that, what is your favourite DOOTNOOT?
Okay, my favourite DOOTNOOT, and I don't know if this counts, but I'm going to say it counts. It's actually a churro. It's actually a Spanish donut.
It counts?
Yeah.
It counts?
They stole it from the Chinese. It's fried dough. The Chinese have the twisty one, and the Spanish it's piped out like a star, and it's kind of usually curved over, and you can have it with chocolate sauce and stuff. Like, you dip it. That's got to be my favorite. Yeah, totally. Nothing beats it. I'll stick with that.
Perfect. Yeah, are you a cinnamon dunker or a sugar dunker with that?
I like a bit of both. Yeah, I like a bit of both. Yeah, definitely like a bit of both. I'm not a huge sweet tooth. Yeah, I'm not a huge sweet tooth though.
See, now we know, guys. Now we know. That was
Chocolate
Llama's
sauce.
favourite, didn't it? Oh, your chocolate sauce. Chocolate sauce. Mm.
Well, you can control that. There's times when you want more
Yeah.
chocolate sauce, and there's times when you want less.
Yeah. All right. So what we're going to do now, we're going to go to the weekly show off, and then we're going to go and look at your slideshow. All right. So
Cool. I'm gonna try and refresh my camera again.
yeah. Probably best if you jump out the whereby and then jump back in. It's the easiest way to do it.
Oh. Yep.
So we'll let you jump out, and then we'll see if that works.
Cool. I'm still here with the voice, so.
Yep.
Knocking.
I'll let you back in. That would help. Yep, that's looking better now. Yep.
Cool.
There we are. Yeah, there we go. They look better.
Nice.
You're not as pixelated anymore. So yeah. That's why I had it drive. Don't worry, you can't get in unless I let you in. So it's fine.
Everyone trying to raid you.
Yep. So it's fine. Right. Okay. So, guys, every week on the show we're going to have the weekly show off. So here we go. It's the weekly show off. Oh, and I'm on totally wrong section here. When you got the right bit, that's one here. There we are. So I was at the end of the PowerPoint, not at the beginning. There is a section on the in the Discord for you guys. If you have anything creative at all that you would like to show off, that we'll have a very brief discussion on with the week's guest, post it in there and we'll show it off on the show. Be awesome to see what everyone's been making. So first up, we have something from the Drive. So let's send us a little video. Hopefully it's going to work this time. Yes, it's working. Is it working? Yes, it's working. Woo!
Oh wow!
Look at that.
Oh, he superimposed the video in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Look
great.
at
Drive
that.
does
That
these
is-
3D scoreboards, replicating the real scoreboard. Yeah, this resonates with me because my son is dating a Canadian who is hockey mad, right? Just so keen on it. So, and he's the expert.
Yeah.
Drive.
Oh, he is. He's Canada's #1 digital scoreboard recreator. And that is absolutely amazing, Drive. And like the entire 3D effect there. It's absolutely beautiful. Like,
Oh, the turning and stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just, that's flawless, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, I love it.
everything you make, Drive, is just, so well done. Just like all the little details, like just even down to like, just the very small text and all that. That's, just so much that goes in there. Let's give you a little
Yeah,
shout
definitely.
out. There we go.
Yeah, the animations are good. Love seeing the animations.
Yeah.
Taking it to the next level, Drive.
Yeah. And look at this one. That is just even more stunning. Like these are all lights that are under here. Drive, did you make all these lights yourself in Blender? Because that looks like a lot of work. Just just to design that light. I know you can just reproduce them all, but just like designing the light itself.
Yeah, the eye for detail. The fact that this is
Yeah.
not just this is from real life. These are replicas. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. We don't play much. We call it ice hockey, but yeah, we don't play much here. We don't, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. So that's it's amazing. Superb. So that's what Drive gave us. It's so good. Up next we have a model painted model submitted by Trevor Durst. So this is,
Right.
really liking this. Really nicely painted.
And I'm assuming 40K. Like I'm even thinking Age of Sigma often quite has the creatures and stuff like that. So
I'm
possibly.
assuming so. It's looks Warhammer to me. Reminds me of a Skeksis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah.
Sketchy all up there, all the way.
Warhammer
Dark
Fantasy
Crystal.
is what Trevor's saying. Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that Dark Crystal on a tabletop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be into that.
Yeah. Really,
yeah.
really nice.
Miniature painting is kind of one of the. Well, you'll see in my slides coming up. Miniature painting is kind of what one of the things that led me to Twitch. So
there we go. So and you can go check out Trevor as well. He does 3D printing. Up next, we have Mr. Frightful with the diorama ornament that he's been making.
love this.
It's absolutely gorgeous.
Love those.
The amount of detail that he's putting into this is absolutely amazing. Just like
I love how it's
tombstones.
contained. I love how it's its own little thing, and it's its own. You can put it on a shelf. You can put it on your desk. It's small enough, but it's detailed enough to draw you in. I love that. That's what I love. One of the greatest things I like about dioramas is that you come across them. They don't shout at you from the wall. You wander through someone's house and you're like, whoa, hang on, what's this in the corner? Yeah, really nice. Very incredible.
I've got a feeling that the ghost is going to light up as well, just from the looks of things. So it's like he's hollowed something out there, so I'm assuming it's going to be lighting up. It's going to be another added effect. See, I know he's done that in the past with like some jack-o'-lanterns and stuff, so I've got a feeling that might be happening. Yeah, it's Mr. Frightful. Yeah, Mr. Frightful, you're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
that is so good.
Mr. Frightful's Instagram link is there. Mr. Frightful, you can post your Instagram. Right. That would be awesome. So I didn't copy it, so I can copy it here and copy it here because it's fine. There we go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there we go. Aha.
Yeah, I love anything like that that draws me into a world. It's brilliant.
Yeah. There we go. It's the ghost glows in the dark, but it's translucent enough so there's a hollow underneath for a tea light. That's what Mr. Frightful was saying. So that sounds amazing. And then we have from Anti-V Games a design for a lamp, which is really cool.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, this shouts Art Nouveau, one of my favorite kind of styles. The organic, I love it. I'd want that. I'd have that in my house.
Yeah, when I saw that, I love that. That organic feel is just so cool. And I know what he was mentioning that like if he was to make these, each one would be different. Because the process that he does, like that actual design, those holes would always be different for each one that he could make. Just the anyone who can come up with an original idea to use lights inside of laser cutting, because it's really overdone. Like it's we know it works, and we know lots of people who make put lights in laser cutting. But anytime I see something original like this, I love it. Yeah, so I'm really hoping he's going to go ahead and actually make these, because these would be a really cool idea to actually have out there. But yeah, definitely. And there we go. So that was this week's submissions. Next time we're on, if you want to, go on the Discord, put some pictures in, and we'll discuss yours. That'd be awesome if you could. But thank you everyone that submitted. You guys were amazing. Anti-V did not have any social media that he wanted to plug, so you forgot to put something in this week. No problem, Sesco. Next time. Yep. Okay, right now we now have a whole slideshow from DioramaLama. So we're just going to have a look at this. There we go.
All right. So yeah, this is where I came from, and I like to remind myself of this because the guy in the picture was not my father, even though he was my father.
Mm-hmm.
He was not present. But it's nice, I think, to as a creative person, I didn't belong. I did not belong in this family. I did not belong in this town. I didn't fit, and it was a struggle. It was until I got out, and I think I'm still running. I grew up in, he was a water diviner. He was a water diviner. He's drilling a hole with a percussion rig, and we lived in the desert. That's the only time it rained, right there. That's it. That's me with the red. That's me with the red shirt.
Look at you. So when it rained, it really rained then.
Yeah, when it rained, because we didn't have the normal floodways and things that rivers and things that happen when you get rain regularly. When it rained there, it didn't know where to go, so it just floods. So the rest of the time it's just desert.
Yeah, but that's kind of a common thing with kind of creatives, is that we're always thinking of being somewhere else. It might not be that, like for you it was escaping,
Oh,
but
it was always about escaping.
But like for some of us, it's that kind of either kind of escape, that fantasy worlds thing, or just kind of being, or kind of making a better life for ourselves or something. There's that kind of creativity part that you're like, what can I what can I use my creativity for, and where will that take me? Yeah, I was always doing something with my hands. If I was asleep, I astral traveled out of that window when I was 10 years old. Freaked me out. Yeah.
I used to stand in that front yard, which we called a lawn, but it had 3 blades of grass. And I used to stare up at the sky, and I actually, someone drove past and said, "What are you doing? You're waiting to be picked up by aliens." And I was like, "How the freaking hell did you know?" And that's what I used to do. I used to stare up at the sky and go, "Get me out." Somewhat God, anyone. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Brilliant.
And then this was a touring, very famous touring group in the sort of 70s in Australia, the Marionettes.
Right.
They're called the Tin Tookies, and they did, they all the puppets were animals and stuff like that. And I luckily met one of the puppeteer who started this off later in my career. But as a child, I saw this, in primary school, and this is my inspiration here. I didn't realize it's one of those moments that you look back on and you can say retrospectively that this influenced me. At the time, I had no idea, because I didn't have any of those materials to be able to make anything like that, or understand how it was even possible. And I was just mesmerized by that. But yeah, that's the Tin Tookies.
All right. So was it?
Hello to everyone coming in and chat.
Yeah. Were they on TV, or were they? No,
that was a live.
All right.
They came to the closest town to where we were, and as a school production, we went and saw them.
All right.
We travelled to see them. Yeah, they toured Australia back in the 70s. Did it hard, and luckily they brought it to some of the outback places where I was. And the one on the right is actually boarding school, and I went on a drama camp. And this was the second time that it resonated with me. And this was another puppetry performance. That's the Pied Piper performance there that we went and watched. And I was like, okay, this is where this hooked me. And I was like, this is something. How do I do this? I still didn't know, but the seed had been well and truly. It's like the first picture, the seed was planted, and it took another 10 years before the water kind of landed on it. So
yeah, so these are your kind of major starting blocks for you to kind of get into the entire puppetry market.
Yeah,
that whole
definitely.
industry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
primary school and then late high school, just pre-college.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I went to a pretty horrendous boarding school and needed to get out of there pretty quickly. Again, escaping. I stayed in the city. I never went back to the town. I didn't go back to that town for 20 years. I took a year off, took a lot of drugs and got drunk a lot, as people do. And I deferred a course. It was going to be a computer programming course to do computer language and stuff.
Yeah.
And I deferred that for a year because I'd already been in an institution and I didn't really want to go straight into another one. And I thought, let's just take a year off and take a lot of drugs. So that's what I did. That was my 80s. That's my 85.
Do you remember much of 85 then?
Nope. I do remember seeing an ad for a touring company in very bad English. I still have the ad in really bad English because they couldn't speak very good English, and they were looking for someone to help them. And I was like, I just randomly came across it in a newspaper. I wasn't looking for work. I literally was like, just stumbled across it, and I was like, what? How could this possibly be in front of me right now? And I applied for this job with a German theatre company, and they couldn't speak very good English. That's me up with a microphone, standing in front of the stage, which I bombed the first time I did that. I was just a bucket of nerves. I could barely speak. I was terrible. And I remember going home that night and thinking, whatever that experience was, that humiliation will never happen to me again. And I did something. I triggered something, and then the next day I went back to work and freaking nailed it.
Superb. So, what's this puppet? You know, I'm intrigued because it looks like Olympic Freddie Mercury to me.
Yeah, it's modeled after Freddie. He's a trapeze artist, so he can hold that bar with his hands. He can let go of the bar and be there hanging from his feet, and he can let go of his feet and he can be there hanging from his hands. It's all done in the top corner. You'll see there's a T-rod that I'm holding onto.
Yeah. That's
on a full pivot swing, and that can totally loosen and tighten just by being up or down. It can loosen or tighten the strings to give him a different look. So a very complicated, overly engineered marionette. Yep.
So was this your first foray into puppetry as such then?
Yeah, I got the job. It took a while for them to give it to me. They were auditioning quite a few people. I didn't realize they were looking for an apprentice, someone to train in wood carving, and really train the craft. And then I got the job and traveled with them, and it was good times. I learned a lot. In 3 years, I just learned so much about the craft. So, yeah. Totally Freddie. Yeah, absolutely. We were doing a lot of shopping center stuff. You can see the old speakers at the front, old Bose speakers, and that was our stage. You can barely you can see the height of the stage there onto the middle there. There's a kind of a laddery thing. It's kind of covered up a little bit. That's the height of the bridge that's why there's a big screen on top of the stage. That's to hide the puppeteers. And the little rack that's up there is for hanging all the puppets and stuff like that. How much German can I speak now? I don't speak German. I perfectly understand it, and I don't know why. I don't understand a single word of it, but when someone's talking German, I know what they're talking about. I feel like I'm a dog listening to English. They know what you're talking about. No idea what the words mean.
It's just that ingrained now in you.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've heard them make love. I've heard them argue. I've heard them I've heard them get excited. All in German. So.
Everything's happened. You just know it all.
Yeah. But to read it, I never really read it or anything and stuff like that. Never learnt any.
Yeah. Oh.
They were more interested in me teaching them English.
Yeah. Because this is one of the puppets here as well.
That's the first time I was in. That's the first time I was in the newspaper.
Yeah.
With that puppet, and we'll see another slide of that. But that's what got me the job. I was handed a block of wood, and I was asked, could I? No, I wasn't handed. The wood was behind his back, and a carving knife was behind his back, and he'd secretly asked every single person who'd been auditioned separately at different times, and he'd been asked. He asked everyone, can you wood carve? And a lot of people bluffed, and a lot of people went, yeah. And what he did was pulled out a block of wood and a knife and said, go over in the corner and carve me something. Unless they said no, And when he asked me the question, I actually said, I don't know. Give me a block of wood and a knife and I'll see how I go. And he was like, oh, okay, good answer. And I carved the feet of that puppet, which he immediately used. First thing I'd ever wood carved.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Honeypenny was just asking, was this in Australia in the 80s?
Yeah, it was everywhere in the 80s. But when I joined, it was Australia. Yeah. We had to tour a lot. The show, this is the thing with this kind of show. It has to keep moving because you always need a new audience. So.
Yeah, this is because we've got a picture of this one later on, so we'll discuss that one later.
Yeah. So this is this was like where I wood carved was always a storage shed or whatever we could find to make a mess in. It's thrown together. It's literally just it was like when we needed to do something, we'd stop. That's
totally you on the
not
left,
yet,
yeah.
Right? Not yet, buddy. Give me another 50 years, buddy. I'll get there. Drive. Yeah, not yet. That's not me yet. This was the hardest puppet I ever carved. You can on the right, you can see the actual skeleton lying on the table, laid out, and you'll notice its chest is a solid block of wood. He made me carve. The jaw was separate. The head is one piece of wood. That rib cage is one block of wood.
Wow.
I only broke one of the ribs doing it, which had to be glued back in place. But yeah, that was the hardest thing that I ever carved. It was crazy, and it was anatomically correct. And in the back of the storage thing there, you can see I had to have a skeleton map and measure and scale everything, and the twist in the forearm and stuff like that, and all of the joints and stuff like that. So it was really the big challenge that he threw me at that point, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
It's crazy amount of detail that you've got into that. He gave me unlimited time, which is important because the only thing he'd pull you up on is if you said it's finished. And then he would look at it and he would throw it in the bin. I learned very early to never say it was finished, because that whatever went in the bin, if I didn't save it, if I didn't rescue it, quite often it was burnt at the end of the day. So, so you had to be very careful with your wording. You had to sort of present your work and say, do you think this is finished, or I'm having trouble with this? But you could never get too cocky and say, I've finished, because he'd train you out of that pretty fast. So was anything ever finished, or was it always a work in progress?
No, his stuff was always. Oh, sorry, Lady Llama just popped in.
Hi, Lady Llama.
Everyone says hi. Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah. So that was probably the biggest challenge. But I love doing that. It was great. It was a great piece.
Oh, no, this is a
so this one. Yeah. This one is, well, it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yep.
And I threw this one in because this was, you don't realize it, but it showcases the skill of the puppetry that we were given. Each puppeteer had 2 puppets, one in each hand, which, doesn't sound like much, but when you walk a puppet, you do this with your hand, with the control, which means you can't get your other hand to do that in the same direction. So you have to have your other hand walking kind of forward like this. The skill involved in operating 2 puppets was kind of crazy. But that was a heavy workload, that performance, because it was all scripted and stuff as well. So
yeah, that's the entire sort of puppetry is an entire art form in itself. Not just creating the puppets, but actually performing with the puppets is an entire art form on top of it, isn't it?
Totally. That, and the set is paper mache. There's a mountain that the dwarves at the back, they go off set behind a mountain. The one in the front is the main one who does all the talking with Snow White. The entire stage they're performing on actually lifts up on a pivot back at the back of the corner and is standing vertical most of the time. Curtains close for 3 seconds. As it's coming down, we're bringing down the set of the dwarf house, and the minute the curtains are pretty much closed, they open again, and everybody freaks out because it's like, where did that come from?
It's amazing, just the thought and the entire setup that you've put into that to create that experience for the audience. And it all just fits together so nicely, between the performance, the mechanical, the artistic, all of it just comes together to create an amazing experience for people. I think it's a great art form like that, because like I often say, people say ballet or opera is the high art form because it involves so many, and I would, even though it doesn't get the recognition, I would put puppetry up there, because you've got to learn how to sew and dance and do wood carving and do sets and design and performance and voice projection and music. And I don't think there's a single art form you can't use in puppetry. Yeah.
Digital scoreboards probably could be done.
And you don't really see this much nowadays at all. Really. It's not you don't really get these performances going around as much. It's become
it was a hard slog. The money was tight. I was underpaid, but I was doing a job of passion. I was working for the skills I was getting in return. Very underpaid, very tough. Especially whenever we did Australia, it was just it's a whole different. Europe has a different appreciation for this sort of stuff, but Australia is just like they put it into a kiddie program kind of feel,
Yeah.
And it never was, but unfortunately you're kind of pigeonholed like that. So yeah, a lot of it's overworked and underpaid for sure with that one.
Yeah,
anything to do with wood as well, like any wood carver here or anyone who's ever worked with wood will know how depreciated just wood is in general, let alone if you take it to the level of puppetry.
Yeah. But on the other hand, you did get to travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. What you getting? What you got?
Water.
Water. Oh, no tea. No
water.
tea.
I was out
no
of
ice
water.
cream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honeypenny saying 100% Australia was very condescending of the arts. Has been worthy of adult attention. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting better now, but gee, the 80s was tough.
Yeah. Ooh, look at these.
Oh, I had to put this in because Triz posted on Instagram the other day, and she put on the drum set she made, and I immediately was like, "I've made that," except slightly bigger. Yeah, this is a DMCA nightmare, but it was an '80s one, so we got away with it.
Yeah.
This is Dire Straits up the top there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Mark on the guitar. I played the drums. Yeah, I played the drums, and funnily enough, this is where I learnt. On the right, that's just no, that's Tina Turner.
I was trying to figure that one out. I'm like, is it?
Yeah. That was Tina. That's Tina Turner, and the only issue I had at the time, and I argued every single time we performed this. Luckily, we were pretty remote half the time when we were doing it, but I argued every time that because we were using a live backing track of Tina, and we may or may not have been, we may or may not have been using a live backing track, and I was like, you can't do this. But yeah, that was cool. They were fun.
Yeah,
but yeah, and most of these I'm doing a part of the carving, like the hands on Tina Turner, the shoes are mine, her body, her breasts are mine. I don't think I did her head. The guitar, I did some of the guitar. The drums I did. The hands pretty much. By this stage, I was doing all the hands. You start off doing as a woodcarver, you're only given the jobs that are hidden by clothing, and then you kind of move out to feet and hands, and then when you're good enough, they give you the heads, and you do the heads, which is the hardest part.
These are more amazing works that so are these more that you've been involved with?
Yep, this is still the European company. We did a circus show. So yeah, totally worked on all of these. The one on the right is a ballerina who could pirouette and stuff like that, and middle one of course is a weightlifter, and the dumbbells actually start on the floor, and then he's standing away from them, and then as he gets closer, you scoop up and you pull the strings, and the strings actually going through the bar, so you have to kind of coordinate all that. But yeah, a lot of the hairdos surprisingly were 80s German. 80s German hairdos.
Yeah, I was going to say there was definitely some German 80s there. And that horse is just amazing as well. It's just so. Yeah. I assume that was the like proper performance horse style that you were going for.
Yeah, that one was realistic. It was it was kind of that. We had a thing called Casablanca. There was a show going around where horses dance. It was kind of like that. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, there was a lot of other ones. So I just picked out kind of my favorites here because this one is my absolute favorite to this day. Mm-hmm. I consider this to be one of the masterpieces of puppetry that I worked on. Most of this, or pretty much all of it. I had some help with the face, even though most of it's hidden and stuff like that. But the hands are on triggers. There's 6 fingers on each side, and they're up on piano keys, which when you press the key on the opposite side, it pivots and it pulls the string up. So you're piano playing on top of the controls, but the fingers are actually lifting like a flute. So the fingers will actually mime and play the flute. The flute starts in his lap and has to be pulled through the hole in his head. So he actually pulls that in place. The snake is in the basket and gets pulled out of the basket. And the little flap at the front, you can see a string next to the front of the carpet. The entire carpet lies in and on top of the smoke machine.
This is like, like when I think of your puppets, this is probably one of the more iconic ones from you. This is, does this be? Let me start that one again. Is this one operated just by one person, or is this like a 2-man job? Or
one person.
More? One person.
One person. A second puppeteer would come in and do the snake.
Yeah.
So that we could get a proper performance out of the flute playing. But up to that point, the flying of the carpet, the landing, all of that stuff. Musically, there's 36 strings there, all of which have to be operated. Yeah. And only 2 of them are operated by the second puppeteer. The rest are the job of the first puppeteer, which was my job, and I freaking loved every minute of it. It was good. I still don't consider it to be mine because I don't have it, and it was for someone else. But
yeah. But and how much did you make the majority of this one?
Yeah. Those feet. Those feet are actually very similar to my feet. That's when he said to me, can you wood carve, when he was auditioning me for the job. That's what I went into the corner and carved. And I just looked down. I took my shoes off and did my own feet and did them in. And he scaled the rest of this for me based on the carving that I'd done for the feet. It's what got me the job. Yeah, the fact that I did those feet, show feet.
Ask questions or enough.
We got a question?
Yeah. Oh, I think I might have not put it for text, which is my bad. But ask questions or enough. Yeah.
Go for it.
Yep. No, we've just got legs. We've just got legs. Right, we'll move on to the next one while we're waiting.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So this is me moonlighting. This is me. I wasn't supposed to be, but I secretly, because I'm supposed to be working with the company, and they didn't. He had a thing about me, the idea that I would be going out on my own or whatever. I think he wanted me forever. I think he wanted to own me forever because I was starting to do the job of 3 people.
All right.
And he didn't need other people for it, so I was starting to become quite valuable. I started moonlighting. This is the first puppet I ever made for myself. It's a I don't think I called it a crow or something. He had a voice. He sung, and I used to do these gigs with these bands, and we used to just rock out. And I used to do this kind of low pitched, kind of squawky voice. He'd kind of talk. And he was in anger. He was a bit aggressive, which was completely against my nature, because I would stand there looking very, very naive and passive. But he could dish it out. If anyone heckled, which they all did, he could heckle back. But yeah, otherwise he'd rock out. He'd rock out to the tunes, and we do these band gigs. So my hand would come out of that bleeding because I didn't know anything about making hand puppets. And I made the cage that the fur is on out of chicken wire. And as it got packed up over time, as you bend wire, it snaps, and it would start to have these little protrusions, and it would stick into my hand when I was performing, and I'd come out with these cuts on my hand. It's a painful job, but that's puppetry. You're always under a box or something.
Right, here's the question from Zornaf. Lama, these puppets you create are awesome. I have some hand puppets, a chimp, an orangutan, and an emu. Can you give me any tips on how best to use them?
Yeah, I think the trick with using them is the weirdest thing is the idea of when you're talking, you got to do ventriloquism, and you don't. That you have to hide, you have to put a mask on, or you have to be behind a box. You don't. If you have to use a different voice. You don't. You just use your own voice, and you don't look. You just kind of switch yourself off. Lady Lama's leaving. You have to switch yourself off completely so that the focus is not on you. You can be wearing bright pink if you like. It doesn't matter. The character, you've got to sell it to yourself. You got to sell it to yourself, because if you don't believe the character is kind of real, then no one else will. And that's the secret to it. You have to kind of channel yourself in there. And you could be standing right in front of people and they just will not even know. They'll forget. Yeah, you don't need to hide the puppeteer. That would be my best use. Yeah. Just start making it talk and believe it. Yeah.
Superb.
Moonlighting again. The one on the left, I knew someone who worked for a shopping center, and they said, can you build us a puppet to do some roving and stuff like that on weekends and stuff? And I was like, yeah, sure. And I built this thing. This is the classic, this is old vaudeville here, the fake legs.
Yeah.
And I think this is another good example of what Zornoff asked as well, because this is a character where you have to split your body in half. So anything your legs do, you have to be not conscious of. You have to completely, unpair it. If the legs are going one way, you are going the other. That's how you sell it, because this is out of control. Like, I barely could control this. It was almost, the emu character, Rod's character. It was kind of like, it was a bit like that. It's like he's literally right there with an emu talking to Parkinson or one of those guests, and the emu's attacking him and stuff like that. So very inspired by that, Rod Hull. But this was a roving thing, and this was me moonlighting again. This is the boss. The boss found out about this one.
Oh dear.
He found out about this gig.
Did you get in trouble for that one?
Yeah, I did. He found out about that gig.
Oh, these are interesting looking ones.
Yeah, this one is these. I left.
Right.
I did my 3 years, and I wanted to get paid better, and he wasn't having it, and things were a bit sort of. Unfortunately, we left on a little bit of a sour note for that. It was like I just wanted to be paid decently, And he did it begrudgingly, and he worked out some other things, and I was like, oh, really? Like, is that where we're going? So I left. I had no income, and I started making these little marionettes for sale. I started making swagmen because I wasn't that good at sewing at that point. And these were for sale. I was charging $50 for these, which was completely underpaid. For the amount of work that went in, and I could make 5 of these with the swagman. I could make 5 of these a week, and they would sell because I was selling them so cheap. So it wasn't quite enough when I first left, but I was working round the clock to do it. But every week I'd deliver another 5. Japanese tourism had hit Australia a big time. And I was pretty much, pumping these out, and they're flying out the window, mostly to people who were going to hang them on a wall.
Right.
And that's the problem. That's the thing. I was so naive. I didn't understand the market, and I thought I was making puppets, and these things worked. These walked really well, and you could perform them. But most of the time, they were, if you gave them to an adult who collected dolls, they hung them on the wall. If you gave them to a kid, they would be tangled within 2 days, and no one could untangle it.
Yeah, and
that's an art in itself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the thing. Like, works of art like that. There's that bit of people don't always appreciate the amount of work that's went into them. And figuring out what you're worth is that bit as well,
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
The shop that was taking them was on a good deal. They were getting a good deal.
I've got another question. Out of the 2 styles, hand puppets and marionettes, which do you prefer and why?
It's marionettes. It's my love. It's about the picture a workshop in Germany in the middle of Christmas with the fire going and everything. The shelves are wood and the table is wood, and you're wood carving, and there's wood chips everywhere, and this character is forming, and it's moving on the table. You bump it with your elbow, and it kind of looks, oh, it's coming to life, and it emerges, and then the thing gets up and starts walking around, and you frickin' Geppetto. I mean, like it's just that process of the art is beautiful. Hand puppetry, it's glues, it can be toxic. You got fluff and glitter everywhere. It's a that's a different craft. The romantic heart of marionettes, or just the process of making them, let alone performing them, is just it's just a beautiful world to be in. Yeah, it's like Christmas.
Another one. Have you ever made small puppets with complex functions? I'm thinking Barnaby Dixon style. This is from Trevor Durst.
Small puppets with complex. Yeah, you'll see some in a minute. Yeah, yep. You'll see some.
So we'll get into that in a bit, Trevor. Yeah. So now these two. Now I recognise one of these.
Yeah, although that's not the original one, but So I got better. So the one on the left, I started charging a little bit more. Also, I was really starting to mass produce these at the point. The yellow and gold one, I switched. The Pyro Clown was huge in the 80s. There wasn't a single person who didn't have the Pyro Clown sitting in a moon, as a poster or something like that. It was in every poster shop you went to. It was there. It was a big thing. So I switched to the clowns first, and then eventually moved over to the Pyro Clown. But this is kind of a progression of this art. They started selling really well. I put them in a jeweler's store actually, and I started getting. I started to understand marketing, and I went to a jewelry store and I said, "How about you put my puppets in your window, so that people stop, and if they stop with their kids, the kids will stop and let the mum look longer. And you can put your rings around, and I'll build a little world and dress it up a little bit, and then I'll just I'll put you commission, and if you sell one of the puppets, you freaking tell me." Because they were a jewelry shop, they had more money, so so they were into that. So and that worked. That was a good thing.
Honeypenny saying she grew up watching Mr. Squiggle. She's always a massive fan of marionette puppets.
Yeah, well, I started with marionettes with tin tookies. I go back even before Mr. Squiggle. And Mr. Squiggle, this puppet here, hang on, I'm trying to think which way they're going to be looking. From the right, I think, the most black and white one with the pom-poms. That's George. It's the only one I kept. So, the one in the middle standing next to the red one, to the right for me of the red one is George.
This one here.
Yeah, that one there, yeah. And these sold really, really well, and I made so many of these, and I survived for a year on my own, making these puppets, working hard to pump them out. I kept George. Years and years later, like 20 years later, I came to Melbourne, and I met Mr. Squiggle and the operator, and George's leg is signed on one side by Mr. Squiggle with his nose, and the other leg is signed by the operator. And unfortunately, he's passed away now. But and he watched me perform, and he turned to me and said, at one point, he said, "You are the best marionette performer in Australia." And I was in tears. I was like, wow. I was just like, what? I wasn't in the funding community. I wasn't I wasn't playing that game. I was relatively unknown, and he just saw George, because I had George at the beginning of my career, and I had him at the end, and I still have him. I performed him on stream. You'll see later, but yeah.
That's it's that bit though where you're that recognition though from someone from that that stature, You know,
Yeah.
it's
It humbled me and brought me to tears, and
Yeah.
I was like, "What? You're like, who knows?" But that's my biggest achievement. It's that puppet could slay a room, George. I've had some incredibly complex puppets. I've had, but there is something in him, in his soul, and I do believe there's a different. It's my soul, but George brings out a different part of my soul. It's gentler. It's so loving. It's so unconditional, and it pours out through him. And he's an interactive puppet. So when he performs, he doesn't do a show. He doesn't do a circus trick. He does no tricks. He connects with people, and he can bring them to tears. So this was the second puppet that I made. And I copied this principle from the skeleton. So the skeleton puppet from earlier, the arms and legs could come off, and you'll see this. Buskers use this trick a lot and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that puppet was my second puppet I made for myself. And at this point, when I made this one, I was like, I can make a show. I was starting to get confident, and I was starting to get a little bit of funds behind me from the year of making those marionettes to go, you know what, I might do my own freaking show.
I don't know. There's something about him. It's those eyes. They just stare through you. It's just something. That smile.
We used to keep the tape, the show tape, because it was cassette back then. We used to keep the show tape in the back of his head. The back of his head is hollow, and you can lift the back of his wig, and there's a little hole in there. And it was a really safe place to put the tape, because you would never forget the puppet.
Aye.
And you would never forget the tape. And then the one day I took the tape, only once in the entire performing career of this puppet. I took the tape and I put it in George's box. Just tucked it next to him. Frickin' lost it.
Oh.
We got to the gig. We got to the next gig, and there was no soundtrack. I never did that again.
I love the hair on this one. Just the.
Yeah. This is 80s.
Yeah, so 80s.
This is 80s.
It screams 80s. But even the entire detail on this puppet, though, like the face and the hands. Just there's so much into it.
Yeah, he's jazz hands.
Yeah,
he's razzmatazz. He's got some problems. Like I didn't realize. I look at it now, and all I see is the bar that he's smuggling.
Yeah,
he's smuggling a Mars bar sideways.
Totally.
It just needed to be rounded off. In the carving, and I never did it. The angle is there so the legs can pivot, but it's one thing about these puppets is they're all prototypes for me, because I didn't know what I was doing, and they never got fixed. Mm-hmm. Once a prototype, always a prototype. It's like I never actually went right. Let's build it properly the second time.
Yeah.
So this is after there's quite a few puppets that I made. I won't show them all, but I started building my own stage. This is a mobile stage that folds up. It's a completely wooden frame, opposed to the one we use with the European. They had an aluminium, but I couldn't afford aluminium at the time, so I made a wooden one. It's stretched black drill, cotton over the front, and this was me trying to work out a stage. And then the shot at the back there with very similar hair to I had really frizzy hair, is me backstage, and I'm kind of setting up the audio. There's an 80s amplifier, there's a boombox running the actual tape deck, handmade dimmer switches for the lighting control, and we use floodlights, just outdoor floodlights were the lights that we use, because I had no money.
So this was your first own show, right?
Yeah, the show was pretty much like all the puppets were ready. It had taken another year. I was still making and selling the other puppets, the clowns, and then funding it back into this, and building this frickin' thing, and building all the puppets. It took a year, and I finally had what was the show. and yeah, it was pretty much ready. It was ready to go, so I started marketing it.
I've got a question from Make Mistakes. Have you ever done serious topics performances with these, or perhaps horror type?
Every couple of years, there was a trend of the education department, which was that's the market that I tapped in. Previously, the European theatre was doing public performances or sometimes shopping centres, where I tapped into the school market because I could, I just was a bit more savvy with how Australia worked and which states would actually let you do that. And as an unfunded, unapproved group, Queensland, you had to be funded and you had to be approved, whereas most of the other states would you just dealt directly with the school, and it was a marketing game. So every 3 years it would change. They would only want fun stuff. And then 2 years later, it'd be like, we want a show about bullying. And then they'd get over all the serious, because they could never find the balance between something that was preachy and something that was just pure fun. So, yeah, I did both because the market you had to get the gigs. That on the left is my first gig. I've literally put the phone down. It's 1988. I have literally just put the phone down. It's been I'm literally like, I'm going actually it might be 89, I think. Yeah. I literally, my friend, there's a lot to say in this. There's my best friend, who I knew since kindergarten, or actually we were born in the same hospital in the same week. When we were at boarding school, we were at different boarding school. I was in a public boarding school and he was in a private boarding school. And we used to send these cards to each other. So we used to, this is my cutout. Laser, you know what I do on stream.
Yep.
This is the start of it.
Right. It's definitely the start of the stuff that you make. Right?
Yeah, I thought it was Kenny Everett, but it goes earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing this is Photoshop before Photoshop. So I put that in because I saw that, and the guy who made that, because I have all his cards and he has all my cards. And we used to cut shit up and just do stupid shit. And he's like, he's got Lady Di biting her arms off, and like, it's just so good. I can't show the other side. It is actually 2 TOS.
Yep.
We used to send these cards to each other. It was brilliant. We had so much fun. It kept us sane. But that gig, he's taking the photo. So yeah, pretty excited. And then we hit the road. I threw this in because this is. I feel like I resonate with this one because I feel like I'm Prince Charles. And what happened was my brother, my dope smoking brother, decided he was going to tag along, and I don't know why I let him do it. I was bullied and tortured by that guy most of my life, and he sold his car and he gave me $2,000 and was like, yeah, let's do this. And I'm like, oh, okay. No contract, it was just like, yeah, sure.
As you do.
He didn't have a creative. So he's the dog with the cigarette, and I dragged him around for too many years. And we hit the road. Yeah, we hit the road.
This is the van.
This is the van.
Is this the Wear Koala van?
That's the Wear Koala van. Totally. We used to sleep. We never got hotels. We could never really afford them. We would literally. There's no room in that van to sleep. We would pitch just a tarp on the side, and we'd sleep on the ground and with the snakes and the frickin' spiders and the Wear Koalas.
Meet you asked, did it work out with the brother though?
It worked out while I was doing it, and then as years have gone on, I've learned to. I've been a bit sort of like, hang on a minute, like, we called it quits after a while, but it was what it was. I was young. And all I'll say about that is, whenever you're doing projects and whenever you find yourself, locked in with other people, you've got to know when to get out. It's not about how long you stay. It's not about, let's whip this donkey until it keeps going. You got to know to get out, because it opens this space in your heart and your soul, and that's when something incredible comes in.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
When you just go, I'm calling this quits. Now, just go back to that van shot for a minute, because 2.5 years on the road to get from one side of Australia to the other. We were performing in every town along the way. We used to market. We used to go. We drive up through about 12 towns and come back, and we literally walk into the office with the puppet, and we'd say, "Do you want to see a show?" And then they'd go, "We're coming back through in two or 3 weeks," and that's why it took us so long, because we were looping. So 2.5 years on the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then next slide, we started doing.
You're in a very large area. Yeah, Australia's very large.
There's a lot of.
Yeah. Now this sums up some of the inspiration, I would think, for some of your colorings, your inspirations, and your stream, I would say. It's
totally,
that.
Yeah, this is 92 and 93. We finally arrive in Melbourne, and I could finally have a workshop again, and a lot had happened in 3 years creatively for me, and I was busting to make some new stuff. And the question before about Barnaby Dixon, so 1993, the one in the middle is pretty much the closest I ever got to what Barnaby does. The bed floats. The puppet is jointed. There's spring joints. The neck is. They're all working on springs. I was playing with all sorts of creative stuff, and the act on the right with the guitar. It's just a pair of boots come in, and then the hand, and then you get. That's the final shot you get at the end of the piece. The little guy in the middle, Reg. He had a whole adventure. He had a whole world that he lived in. That was his own little world, and it was just a mesmerizing thing to build and also to watch. And then that was reminiscent of the flying carpet. This was all done with what's called blacklight theater. We used ultraviolet lights. We dress in black velvet, head to toe, with a vent, like a bit of mesh for the eyes, black gloves. We're standing behind all of those puppets. We would go into a school, and it would take us 2.5 hours to black it out. Climbing on windows, climbing on tops of gyms, getting black plastic and a staple gun. And that was my job, and my brother's job was to set up the stage and get all the puppets in place and unpack everything. And I'd spend pretty much 2 hours getting whatever room we were given pitch black. You could not have a pinpoint of light in any way coming into that room. It would ruin the effect. By the time the kids walked in, they thought they'd been transported to another world, which is what I was trying to achieve, because that was my experience living in the outback. How can I get these kids to realize that this isn't the world?
That would have just been an amazing experience for them, just walking into that, and it was that something that drove you with that, just that, once they got in and they saw this, was that, that helped with that whole kind of 2.5 years on the road, Yeah,
we used to, sometimes we'd be late because, some of the drives are 6 to 8 hours between towns and stuff. But sometimes we'd be late, and we would get there, and they'd be pissed. Like the person they're pissed off. The person who organised it would be like stressing out. The kids are waiting, blah 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 blah. And we'd always say, "Can we talk about this after the show?" It was the greatest line ever.
Yeah.
No matter how angry they were, we'd say, look, can we do the show? And then we're happy to negotiate and talk to you. Let's talk about it after the show. Let's get the kids the show. We're here now. And by the time they finished the show, there was no argument. There was never any argument.
Yeah.
We gave them one hell of a ride. And we performed in about 2,500 schools. So
Wow.
yeah. And then I called it quits on that. I needed to go solo. I needed to not be carrying any weight. I needed to be just pretty much going into my own stuff. And unfortunately, at the time, I got skin cancer, and I had it cut out 3 times. It was literally millimeters away from the nymph line and stuff, and it was a bit of a scare for me. You know, I'm still pretty young there, and I was that close to it, and it was down on my side, and it's my skin. I have very white skin with lots of moles, so I'm like the redhead without red hair kind of thing. I burn to a crisp, and yeah, it was a tough time. And someone gave me $300 and said, why don't you go, while you're waiting for the results and stuff, why don't you just go and make yourself something that's just for you, you know? And I made that puppet on the left. He's 8 foot tall. I'm wearing a harness. He has a gripping hand mechanism that can pick up a wine glass off someone's table, hold the glass, hold it up to their hands, make them drink it. He can take a hat off a guy and put it on his own head.
Absolutely amazing.
There's a sunflower there. There's a spider up the top. There's a Jack Frost character for the winter stuff. Because we don't do a winter Christmas here in Australia because it was 34 degrees Celsius today.
Yeah, you get yourself a nice winter, a nice Christmas even.
So when winter comes, we have to do a Jack Frosty theme. We can't do the Santa thing.
Yeah.
And then the sunflower there, which I know Lita will love that one.
Yeah.
She's been waiting to see that one. That puppet on the left, he made me a lot of money, and he was a hit, you know. He got into some scrapes. He had some fights. Yeah, he was. Oh yeah. He had a New Year's Eve gig. And this drunk guy just pissed off his head, just mentally drunk. And just like, he just sees this thing. He doesn't realize I'm attached. And the rod that's attached to that puppet is on my chest. So anything that hits the head is going to drive down.
Oh. And,
you know, I grew up with sunken chest, pectus excavatus. So, you know, a little bit dodgy for me. And he put his hand up and he started punching. He started punching the puppet's head, and I was getting a little concerned for myself. And then that fear of flight thing kicked in, and I was like, I couldn't, and he was just laying into it, and he didn't realize he was laying into me. This is the thing that happens with puppetry. People think they can just jump on it, you know, and don't realize as soon as you hide your face, people think there is no one. The left hand was solid. It didn't have any mechanisms. It was quite heavy. I lifted it up about 10 foot up in the air, and I brought it down on his head, and I sconed him. It's as violent as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And the headlines the next day was, you know, giant 8 foot puppet beats man to death at New Year's Eve celebrations. So, you know, good publicity. You know. Bad publicity is good publicity.
Yeah. You got a few bookings out of that then. Yeah. But that, you know, I just love it when you talk about the puppets. It's you know, each of them has got their own personality. They are a entity. You know, and I love that when you talk about them. You know, they're not just a puppet. They are a person, you know, they're a soul to you, you know, because you've created them.
They are, because I've split. I've mentally, in a healthy way, I've split a bit of me and put it in. I was trained to do that. I was trained to channel into the puppet. You have to kind of start to see. You have to astral travel. You have to kind of you start to see what he's seeing. You need to see what he's seeing from his perspective. You need to visually, or using your third eye, or get a bit spiritual with it. But you need to project, and you need to be in the puppet shoes, not yours. 6 foot above it. You need to be down there, and there's a foot there. What would a puppet do if a guy came in with work boots? He'd be scared, because it's like, you're going to step on me, and it's that you have to think like that. But like performing a marionette and walking a marionette from one side to the other is not how you walk, because no one walks like that. When people walk, they walk, and they stop, they look, they go up there, and they go, whatever, I'll keep going. And that's a thought. That person had a thought, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that puppeteers make when they're performing is they do all the actions, but they don't make the puppet think and react. So, amazing. Who's having a birthday? Hunter Demon.
Yeah, it's Hunter Demon's birthday today, guys. Happy birthday, Hunter Demons. Happy birthday.
Woo-hoo. Very cool. Yeah, this was kind of my invention of that original vaudeville thing, and I was like, how can I take this into another direction? I took it vertical.
Yeah.
And I started getting into a lot of I had kids at this stage. I had 2 kids, and they were young, so I naturally just started doing kid shows. I love that. I love the age. I love the 4-year-olds and the 5-year-olds and stuff like that. They're just brilliant. That was so much fun. And I just went down a little kid hole with this kind of stuff, and just there was child cares and birthday parties and preschools, people who didn't get shows because they didn't have the numbers. A preschool they can't afford the show that the big primary school can get.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, yeah.
That's the thing. It's always been that bit where the smaller institutes, they're never going to have, they're never able to afford that.
So I started going into kindergartens and childcares that only had like 30 kids, and I'd do the gig.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. And having folk like you be able to do that for them was perfect for those kids. They get to experience it. Because, this is the stuff that those kids miss out on if they don't get, especially at that age where they've still got that bit of wonder in them. Because the older they get, they start to lose that.
Play the game. Yeah, and if anyone can play with a puppet and interact with a puppet properly, it's a 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
A 4-year-old doesn't hesitate to talk to a puppet. They're off, especially the girls. They'll chat all day to a puppet. Sometimes the boy would want to rip its head off and see where the hand was, but most of the girls would just chat away.
Yeah.
And this was a thing that happened where I learnt I used to turn up to that gig fully dressed, right, in this character. Yeah. And then not this gig, because I don't have photos of the gig I'm going to talk about, but one day I turned up to this gig, and I was late, and I had to go and check in, and I had to go and find my dressing room, and I was late, and I was really worried about it. And she was a bit pushy, and I was already having troubles with this person, but she meant a lot. If I could get her, it meant a lot of work. So I thought, well, she doesn't know what time I got here. So what if I just stand in front of the crowd and put my bag on? I'll get dressed here, because I didn't take my clothes off to get dressed. I just attached all this stuff to me. And I put my head down and just started putting these bits on and slowly putting it up. And then I was ready, and I lifted it up, and there were 300 people watching in a circle. And I was like, oh, wait. Oh, that's the act. The act is getting dressed. And I had this incredible routine where I used to slowly play with the bum and slowly put all the little bits and pieces on it. So Yeah, and then that he had these really big giant arms, like really long arms. Totally Kenny Everett, just really long arms with these giant big hands, and that was the finale. And he would go up and hug people and stuff. So
that sounds amazing.
that's yeah. And the character on the bottom would just do his own thing, and I'd be just screaming. I'd be doing your bit, your bit where you're like, whoa, that's me on top.
Yeah. That's turned off, by the way, guys. It's turned off, so you can't do it.
Yeah. Eskimo says she was that kid, yeah, totally chatting to the puppet all day.
Yeah.
This was where the money was. I started getting into the expo market. I started building sets for exhibitions.
Right.
Yeah. And it was big money. There's big money in this. You get I know a lot of your clients, Laser, are actually those people, who are putting these things together. But that's a chair I made. That's a storytelling chair. It has a dashboard on the right-hand side with dials and meters and buttons, battery-operated sound effects built into it. There's a steering wheel, a wooden ship steering wheel, and then the storyteller would come in and tell stories on that chair. And you can't kind of see it, but where it says Meet the Goblin, there's a puppet in there that I used to operate.
Right, yeah.
And that was the first time I used cameras, because I was completely hidden. I had a microphone. I had a microphone at the front of the booth that I could hear, and I'm getting, this was a good gig.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. The like exhibition stuff is great. It's a good market, and being able to kind of combine something a bit more creative into that sort of thing. It's much more fun that way. When folk are looking for something just that little bit more different, rather than your standard couple of sticks and a banner.
Totally. You could walk past that and not see the goblin.
Yeah.
And plenty of kids did, but if a kid saw it, occasionally the goblin would snore, and then he'd just have this full conversation with them, like what Max does on stream now. It's like someone comes up, and it's like, if you're the lucky kid who took the time to go and see what was in there, he'd scare you a little bit, but then you'd get a personal show one-on-one.
Yeah, and
that was fun.
And that's just, again, creating that lovely performance, combining, the craft that you've done with the performance, which is amazing, that you're able to just craft that together,
Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Things got out of control. Corporate market, we ended up at the Sydney Olympics.
I was going to say that's looking like something amazing there. How did you end up at the Sydney Olympics?
I don't know. You get to, when you're in schools, you don't get discovered. No one knows you exist. And as soon as you start doing festivals, people start, doing birthday shows. You get more birthday shows. And then finally, when you start doing corporate stuff, you start getting noticed by people who have got, better connections than anyone. That's how it happened. And it took a while, but, I also did the Australian Open tennis, the Grand Prix here, big events. It was a blast, a lot of work, burnt out.
Oh yeah.
Burnt out completely. At this point, I'm peaking, but I'm burning out at this point. This is my all-time favorite gig. There is another favorite gig, but this is I will still, in terms of hype, I'll call this the all-time favorite gig. This was the Hong Kong 2000 New Year, and the dragons up the buildings and the neons and just the way we were treated, and we were treated like royalty, and we were given, hotels and rooms, and just welcomed in, and it was so different. It was, the love pouring out of this community for us was incredible. And that's my big highlight. My other highlight would be, I've told this on stream, but it's a 60-year-old lady who had been in an institution, never spoken once in her life. She met George and she said, "Oh, my child," and hugged him and cried, and she wouldn't let go. And for the whole rest of, she was mentally handicapped. Mm-hmm. For the whole rest of the gig, we spent on her little table attached to her wheelchair, and she wouldn't let go. And we just stayed there and we hugged her.
That's beautiful.
And that was the end of our gig. And then afterwards, one of the nurses came up to us and said, "She's never spoken a word. I've been working here for 30 years.
Amazing.
And that's my best gig.
So in Japan, Hong Kong, get the right place, Colin. Get the right place. In Hong Kong, what were you performing with? Was it George or was it
a full stage show?
Right.
Yeah, big deal.
Yeah.
The best of everything that we had.
Right.
And massive crowd. They in Hong Kong and most of Asian cities, they have these the apartment blocks all have shopping centers underneath. So, and they're open like all the time. So if you live on top of the skyscraper and you catch the lift down to do your shopping,
right,
you haven't left the building yet. You go to the supermarket, you get back in the lift and you go up. And it's a big deal. Yeah. And some of them are big. These floor spaces are big, and we did all those. Massive crowds. Couldn't speak a word. It made it funnier.
Yeah.
Burnt out.
Yeah.
At this point, I am freaking burnt out. I just wanted to ignite my passion. I wanted to find something. I'd broken up in a relationship. The mother of my kids, I was looking for something. I wanted to fix my heart. I'd never danced myself. I'd never actually danced. And I started dancing. I started doing ballet and flamenco. And then I was pretty good at marketing at this point because of my career. And I just switched. I just turned on a dial. It was some of the hardest challenges in my life were getting into a professional. I used to dance with all the ex-ballet from Australian ballet, the ones who are a little bit older and they're not having full careers, but they would they used to have this special class they run. And I would dance with them and it pushed every limit I had doing ballet with them, and started doing flamenco and loved that whole community, and started marketing and put a lot of these dancers together, and started putting dancers with other dancers, and becoming really quite a linchpin in the kind of the cog of that community. And I did that for a long time. It was a complete shift.
Now?
Sorry?
Are you still dancing now?
No, I don't. Well, especially since COVID hit, I don't. I was still keeping in with a regular ballet class. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I try. I do it at home. Mm-hmm. I do my things at home. I do a yoga. I do some other stretching I have to do for my body, and I do a Shaolin. I do a Shaolin monk routine that through a guy that I'm subscribed with, and I do a ballet routine.
Amazing.
Oh, Auntie V's here. Love your work, Auntie V. We were looking at your work earlier.
We had a look at it. It was amazing. I loved it. Really, really would like to see it. If you're, definitely something that you would be, should be making.
Cool. So coming back to miniatures, this was me. I started getting into wargaming as a hobby, and was getting into that a lot. And this was me starting to think about what YouTube and stuff. And the first thing I started doing was this. I was doing it as a hobby. And I think that's an important thing about going back to what Makers and Crafters is as a community on Twitch. has to come from something you love doing. You can't force that, being part of that community. And this is what I was doing. So as my hobby. So I thought, I didn't know Twitch existed at this point. I thought I'd do it on YouTube. So.
Yeah, talking about YouTube, you've got your YouTube channel that you had with many views for how to open up, was it a hard drive?
The first video I ever did was fidget spinners were in. And my kids were looking for a bearing, and I grabbed a hard drive, and it was an old one, and I took a bearing, 2 bearings out of it, and I did it on stream. It was a bad YouTube video, but it was pretty dry, and I was pretty nervous, but and then I forgot about it and went back like a couple of years later. It was just like so many views and all these comments about fake. This is fake. Just like oh my god, such a laugh. It was so good. That was my first YouTube video.
Yeah. So I just remember you showing us that on stream. That was just so funny. Just all the
it's still there. I'll always keep it.
Yeah,
I'll always keep it on the YouTube channel. It'll always be the first video. When people go back, they go, "What's this video?" Have I ever considered Gundam models? Yeah, like I haven't done one yet, but I'd love to. Anything to do with miniatures, I love. This is the laser cut stuff. So I didn't have a laser cutter. I wanted a laser cutter, and I thought, I'll just buy some of these laser cut wargaming terrain kits and start putting them together on stream and on YouTube and start doing YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. So different channel. Those videos are still there, but I did about 5 videos just reviewing kits and stuff like that. And I was fascinated with the ability to just like someone to just design these in I was playing around with Fusion 360, and I was thinking about this as a career at some point. I thought maybe I could do this. I love wargaming at this point, and I was like, maybe I could make these, sort of dabbled with that idea for a while, but this was a Wild West town that I built out of different kits and stuff like that.
Yeah, so. these were some amazing kits that you were making, because these were the ones you were getting from, was it a UK company or was it? No, it was an Australian company, wasn't it?
Different, there's a couple of, there's a UK company there's an American company, there's an Australian one, and there's a heap more buildings and stuff like that.
You know, the iconic, totally iconic.
I'm reading
now.
Rightful's comment. What's inside a hard drive? Some bearings, a PA5, some cash money, and oh my god, if you take the controller board, a bucket of chicken, yeah, totally. And they were just like, fake. This video's fake, man. I looked in my hard drive. There's no chicken.
Yeah. Damn it, no chicken for you.
I started getting smaller with the miniatures, and I was starting to collect the little HO railway miniatures, and I started building dioramas, and I was making all these little dioramas for myself. This was a matchbox, a matchstick forest and stuff like that. A little guy chopping them down, and this is how matchsticks are made in my head. So I did a couple of other ones and stuff like that, and I thought, and that's where the name DioramaLama comes from. So. That has to be in there.
Yeah, and this is tiny, like the proper tiny.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like
144.
And like when you first showed like the things, I was like, oh, these are small, but then when you really showed it, proper scaling, I'm like, no, these are tiny.
Yeah,
I was so surprised how tiny they were. It's. You can't even, and hand painted, the checkers on his lumberjack shirt are is hand painted, and it's like, man, that's like, wow, it's a match made in heaven. Yeah. So then, this is my first stream. This is it. Yeah, this is the 5th of May 2019. I'd made the Twitch account DioramaLama, because I thought I was going to do dioramas, and I was watching Lauderwolf in Canada,
still a great friend of mine. We consider ourselves to be cousins. We clicked immediately. I was watching his stream, and he's the guy that had the shitty headphone, and the microphone was terrible and crackling, and the music was in the background somewhere coming from a tape deck, and he was half drunk, and he was painting. And he said to me, because I'd already tried to make some YouTube videos, and I'd spent a week editing on some of these, and Lady Llama's like, what are you doing so much work on these? It's like, I've got to get it perfect, got to get it perfect. And then yeah, I was totally just maybe go the other way. Yeah, I was totally just kind of watching him, and he turned to me and said, Llama, just turn the camera on. Like, drop your freaking ego and turn the camera on. Stop thinking about it. No one is going to be watching your first stream. So I did the next day. Wolfie. Yep, that's my cuz. We call each other cuz because we're kind of cousins from we don't know where, but that's how we feel about each other. So, yeah, totally. Lord Odd Wolf, yeah.
LRD, OD, LWLF, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I think that's it. I think so. Lord Odd Wolf, yeah, I think that's it. I hope so. Yeah, so I did, and I did this. I just bought a tablet. I just bought my first. It's not one with a screen on it. You have to look at the actual monitor, and your hand is somewhere completely different. And I did Seven Samurai. I did this sketch based on a film still that I had on another screen. These are the 3 surviving samurais, and the four dead ones on the hill. And the one with the weird sword is the clowny character. I forget the name, but this is a classic film for me, and I just wanted to have something for it. So black and white stream. I did it in black and white. I had a freaking track. I kept pulling my track top over my arms because I was so self-conscious. Like, I was just like, it's all gone now, but yeah. I was like, I can't show my arms, I'm too thin or whatever. Just sort of like, I was just, there was a ball of nerves and didn't know what I was doing and didn't know what all these buttons did and what's this, what do I switch scene, or what have I done now? The mic's not working.
It's always that bit though, with like that first stream, hitting that live button, just, doing it, first stream, once you've done that, and when you start to realize it's not as bad as you think.
Yeah. And that's what when he sold it to me, he said, no one's going to be watching, and sure enough, for the first half of that, no one watched. And then he came in, Cuz came in, and we had a chat, and it was great. And he, we could have that other side of the conversation I'd been having where he had the mic and finally I had the mic, and we just talked about collectible card games, and because that's one thing we're into, and role-playing games and all sorts of stuff like that.
It's great, and that's the thing. It, for anyone that's considering starting up a stream, give it a try. It's not, you don't need to buy expensive equipment either. If you've got a phone, you've got a camera. That's the thing. You don't need to go and buy a webcam if you don't have one. Use your phone.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. You don't, you can stream from your phone. You can connect your phone to your computer. There's lots of simple ways to doing that. There's some stuff on the Discord as well to help out with that as well. Because like we want to see lots of people sharing their creative sites on Twitch here now. We want to see how all the cool stuff going on.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, second stream I did Zork. This is my second stream. Color. I'm in color now.
You're in color now. Yeah.
Hype. I did Zork, which is a text-based game, and I mapped it as I went, and no one watched. And Triz came in at the end of it. I think Trix might be the next one, but this is about the time I found Triz's stream, and I was like, wow, okay, wow. We just clicked and we're like, okay, this is cool. And then think the next slide is the one that Triz came in. I had an overlay.
Yeah,
I had an overlay.
Yeah.
I was getting pro second stream.
Yeah.
And then the third stream I did, I had a backdrop, and Triz is here by this point. Pretty much my second viewer coming in. And in terms of my community, and then Maggie Mags came after that, and Boom Boom came in, and Svicky Boy, Timber and You. And Timber and You opened me up to a world of Lasergeek and all his crowd, and met Dingle through there, and Samantha Branch, the comic book artist, and Love Cat came in, and Leader, Zeb, Red, Sky, Drive, Shy, Calamity, and that's what I really like about Twitch, is the fact that I can look back, and look back at these people, and it's not all my followers, but this is I consider this to be my community. It's on one page here, and it's like, picking up where I left off. It's like, Sky, Drive, Alice, Sam, Shy on Art, Calamity, Make Mistakes, Misty, Bad Direction, Seskimo, Pam, Tad introduced me to Foz, which I love. Windy Harper, Purge, Windy Harper's mum, Jammer, Larry, Brinson, Rish, Jimmy, Kafidget, Q-Cat, Elizabeth, Mark Cords, Favored Grain, Mercury Chicken. The fact that these people, when they came in, they stayed, they hang out, and I'm a small community, and I freaking love it for that. I love how tight we are, and I love everyone on that list. And did I say Jimmy? I'll say Jimmy again, because I love him.
And that's the thing, your community makes you, on Twitch as well. It's all, they're the people that you're chatting to and you're having fun with, and they're, kind of keeping you going at times on the stream when, you're sitting there going, what am I doing here? What am I doing? And you kind of go, you say something and they're like, we're jumping on that. We're just totally jumping on that.
We're going down there.
Yep, taking you down that rabbit hole. Now, I'm noticing here that you're currently playing with trains. What's going on here with the trains?
Train guy. That's a rabbit hole that gets weird fast. Triz is here by this point. And the whole train guy story. We start talking about trains and train guys, and that's a meme that about if you're in my community or Triz's community, or and it's still going.
Whatever happened to Train Guy?
Yeah, was it Lasergeek or was it Svicky Boy?
So do we need to find out who was Train Guy?
I think it was Svicky Boy.
Do you think it was Svicky Boy? Did you think it was Svicky Boy? So should we give the reveal that it was not Svicky Boy at all? It was all.
Oh, are we doing it here?
It was me.
Who was it? Oh, you did that so well. Oh, I'm pretty sure Triz was sold on Svicky too.
No.
It was you. Oh my gosh.
It was me.
Trolled.
I was Train Guy.
Trolled. Yeah, so we had this fictionary character called Train Guy who summed up a type of guy who obsessively picks you up on every argument about trains. And it happened to me, it happened to Triz. It started in my third stream, and then Laser picked up on it and he made a fake account. I thought it was Vicky Boy because I started timing when he would come in, and I started watching schedules. And somehow you did a misdirect.
Yep.
And you misdirected to Svicky Boy. You did that well.
That's how I work. I'm sus like that.
Wow. Wow. He's still one of my followers.
Yep.
Yeah, I should have put him on the list. GG, totally.
Yep. Totally. I was like, because I saw it in the show notes when you were like, oh yeah, Train Guy. I'm like, I'm going to have to do the reveal today. Totally have to do the reveal of who Train Guy actually is.
Nice.
Yeah. Zarnath is shook. He's shook. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is as you can see, Vicky Boy is up there, Samantha Branch, Triz Cat, Maggie Mags, and we got a tight little. This was in the black box, and we started doing the diorama.
I remember these days.
We built the little bookshelf diorama, and it kept expanding, and the shop next door, and started, and it went up, and
this diorama grew arms and legs, literally.
Yeah,
'cause that was the thing. Like I came in to your stream when you were just starting on this diorama.
This is the stream. I watched it back. Yeah, this is your stream you came in on. Totally.
And you were just making all the bits. You were starting to make the little tiny air vents, was it, or the
air conditioners?
Air conditioners on it. And big as the thumb. Yeah, and this was well before you were planning on even turning it into your sub.
This was before that. Yeah, it was Cyberpunk, and there was the news of Cyberpunk coming, and was going to be coming out in a year supposedly. I thought, I'll build a Cyberpunk and I'll have it ready, ready for when it comes out.
Do you think you'll ever have it ready before Cyberpunk comes out? No. Yeah, they've given you some extra time now.
Yeah, true. They give me extra time. Yeah. But this is what I do with my head creatively. I complicate things, and I go, we could do this, or we could put in neons, and let's do it like this, and it goes down this rabbit hole, which is why I love pixel art, which is kind of what I kind of do now with all my characters and stuff like that. Because it restricts me, because there's only so many pixels you can kind of color in. So exactly. I've still got a love for makers and crafting, but I've kind of gone a bit digital and stuff like that. But there'll always be something new. You don't know when, you just don't know in someone else's stream, or when you're browsing through makers and crafting, you don't know what you're going to come across. I love that. Music, most of the time you'll get music. There's how tiny in the screen in the TV in the bottom, in the middle one. Yeah. That's how tiny the miniatures are. There's the llama call. That's the first ever llama call.
Yeah. Explain the llama call to people that don't know about llama calls.
I got a bot. I got pro. I got a bot. Yeah. And I switched to Phantom bot, and I was like, it could do a lot more than the Streamlabs bot I was using. And I was like, I got this bot, and I was like, what can I do with this and make with an alert? And I thought, and I don't know. I had one of these. Maggie Mag sent me a llama. She did it. She sent me, and she would have said it, because she used to drive. She'd drive so much energy into our streams, whether it was Triz or you or Sam. She'd so much love and so much. She was worth frickin' 20 people when she came into your stream. She was all in viewer. And she kind of instigated with that, and then I built that, and I built this llama call. You can come into the stream and you can do a command just called llama call, and there's a very low chance that you'll pull out a llama and it'll land on my head. We've had it stacked up to, I think, 5 or 6, which is amazing. That's the llama call.
And the need to have that llama on your head drives people. Everyone's determined to get that llama.
People come in, do a llama call, and go.
But just looking at the detail in your work there, like when you look at the size of the people, but the detail in the work that you've made, it's just astounding.
When you know that the size of the figure in the hand, and also that the camera can't focus. Camera can't focus.
Oh, sorry, I've just noticed there's a new train guy. There's a new train guy. Train guy 69 has came in.
That's not the same train guy.
No.
That's Smoky Boy.
It's a new train guy.
That's a new train guy. Oh my gosh, we've got a new train guy. Who do I reckon that is? I'm going to put my money on Chords.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's Maggie Mags's house, and Triz's house is at the back there. I started giving my subs houses in the diorama. They can come in and live in there. We've taken it purely digital. It's a video game now where they live, but the original houses and restaurants and stuff like that, we'll get it finished one day. We'll work on it sometime when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Wow, train go. They're probably the worst invention in the history of the world. Cars away. Oh, this is this is a different type of train guy. This one.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is the last slide. I think, isn't it? Because this is George, and we did George live on. I've deleted that VOD now, and I've deleted that. Huh?
I've got one more after this.
Okay. I performed George live on stream, and it was a pretty special moment. And I had not performed that puppet for quite a few years. He'd been in a box, and I'd shut the lid on puppetry, and we opened in performing that puppet. We, as a community, we opened a whoop ass of a whoop ass can of worms. Of the stream went weird. It all came flooding out, and all of these all of these puppets that I have, and from Betty, Bruno, what else have I got? Perry, Harry, all of these talking digital puppets that have Arabella, who's so loved. Arabella. Yeah. Wurzel. The Reverend. The Reverend. Love the Reverend. And of course,
the OG himself.
Look into my eyes, Laser.
No, Max, I won't. There's no hypnotism going on in here. I'll just
you want to.
Oh, I don't have a cover for you on this one. To have to go back here.
Look into my eyes.
Cover you up. There we go. We'll just cover you up. There we go.
Yeah. It opened up a. I hadn't performed in a long time, and George opened it up again. He opened my heart again to performing and to puppetry, and I took it in a different direction, reinvented where I was as that. And yeah.
It was an extremely special stream. It was an amazing stream, that one. Just getting to see you perform again, and seeing the emotion that came out of that stream, and performing with George again was it was beautiful. It really was. It was it was one of those moments that you remember from your stream.
Totally.
Really, one of those
I think a lot of people thought he would turn up again, and he didn't, because it was it's a moment for me. Mm-hmm. That's the moment, you know. That's it, and it's like the people who were there know now what a moment that is, and what a turning point for me. And it's a train. It runs on trains. Train guy, just settle down. It's on tracks. Just we're here for you always. Look, it's totally on tracks. It's fine. So that was see, hang on, I'm off.
He's off. I know.
Hang on. And then I'll come back. Reverse.
Come back for this. This is the final one here.
Yeah.
And a bit
Things
of surrealism.
got weird. Things got weird. Things got a bit surreal. Nothing sums it up more than this image that I made, which is it's titled Sherlock Holmes has lunch with a pheasant, aka the game's afoot. That sums it up. That's what my stream is about.
Yep.
Show feet. Yeah.
No, we only get legs.
That's it.
We only get legs. No feet.
I was saying to Laser before stream, I was like, don't put that table together. It's the only prop you have.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, just it's so crazy to just see how your channel has just evolved. Seeing it there, how the channel's evolved, and just like how your kind of career and life's evolved. Throughout your kind of from your craft. From between kind of learning the whole puppetry, creating and performing, and moving into the whole marketing, dancing side of things.
I think me and Jammer were talking about it last night, and we were talking why is that? And I think for me, if it's different for different people, and for me, it was about escaping that town, and it's made me embrace change because I'm the opposite. I feared the same. I feared being in the same town that bullied me and tortured me and gave me hell. I feared being in the same boarding school that tortured me and bullied me and gave me hell. And newness to me was being abducted by an alien. I don't care, like, just to get me out of where I am and to somewhere new. And what it's done for me is kind of like it's given me a love for change, and I went into audio for a few years in that gap when I wasn't performing. I was an audio engineer for 1 year. I did, and music was the big thing where I'm at now. Like with this whole DMCA thing, I was like, I'd played with a few analog, music kind of. I don't know what we call just doof music, whatever you want to call it. But we were playing around with that alternative kind of electronic music, even though it was analog. And we dabbled in the 80s. I never created a song. We just played with the machines and pressed the buttons on the synthesizer and we're like, oh, what's this do? And, I had a mate who was just constantly selling one 808. He'd sell an 808, buy a 303. It was like he just completely moved from one machine. But so I was aware of it, and I just thought, I can make some music. Yeah, I can do that. Like, it's different. Like, it's a challenge. And I thought, we'll give it a go. So we've got 16 tracks on the channel now, so that I've made that are totally mine. And no one can ever DMCA for me for it, because I'll be like, oi.
Yeah.
I'll scorn you, mate.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, like the future of your channel, you're going down that route of creating your own music, not doing VODs, not doing clips, you're kind of, that's your, keeping yourself out of that. Yeah.
Good point to kind of wrap up on it. Sort of like for me, Twitch does something well. One thing, going live, and makers and crafting, not Twitch, makers and crafting do a second thing really well, community. Makers and crafting do it brilliantly. Other streamers hanging out in other streamers' streams and supporting each other and shouting each other out and lifting another streamer up and saying, look at this person, or that person comes in and they'll spend 10 minutes talking about that person and giving them a proper shout out and showcasing their stuff. And Twitch does one thing well, going live. It's not good for storing content. You can get screwed now for storing content. As soon as it becomes a VOD, it's back in the archives, even if you delete it. Music is a problem. Clips. I just turned them all off. I deleted them all, and I turned off the ability for people to make clips and VODs because I don't think Twitch does it well. That YouTube does that well. YouTube does that well. And I would recommend any makers and crafters here, my biggest advice would be, Twitch is great. Twitch is brilliant. Know what it's good for, but get on the other platforms. get in the other places. The discoverability is elsewhere. It's you kind of have to use the different platforms for different things. Don't repeat the same. Don't put the same tweet on Twitter and put it on Facebook and copy it all out. It's like you work out what each platform is good for and use them separately. So.
Yep.
Laser?
Perfect. One last question. Can you give me a few recommendations of streamers, a couple of makers and crafters, a couple of non-makers and crafters as well that you recommend?
Apart from you?
Apart from me, yeah.
Okay. Trizcat. Trizcat is number one for me. I think the joy and the light that woman has, even when she's in a shitty mood, she'll cheer you up. And the range of skills, the personality, the sense of community, the strength to tell someone to piss off if they've crossed the line, and yet love someone who needs a frickin' hug. Like someone needs a hug, she'll be there. Like Trizcat number one.
Oh yeah, she's such a lovely streamer. She definitely. I'll go and follow her.
You can follow her, yeah, definitely.
Go give her a follow.
She'll sing to you. She'll read stories to you. She'll make things. She'll make you laugh. There's so much going on that's just so, and yet it's like you're in your auntie's kitchen if you're younger than me. I'm not in one, but it's like you've gone round. It's got that same warm feeling of going round to your auntie's place and she's going to make you a cup of tea. I'll make you a cup of tea, love. So Trez is number one for me. And she's like, she's my most consistent first kind of follower. So, I think the only, look, there's so many to shout out and I kind of read through the list before, but what I would like to say is the best streamer to go and for anyone to go and watch is to go to Makers and Crafting and go to the bottom and find that girl, guy, they, find them, and that's the best stream. God, that, Laser. That's a beautiful moment. We are at a stage now where we still know what it feels like to be there with no viewers or one viewer who's your mum or whatever, and to be surprised and go, wow, look what you can do. But also to be able to bring in your community and connect is that's my favorite stream.
Yeah,
that's my favorite stream, especially when you do it. When you're just like, I'm going to go to the bottom and make us go, and we go find someone and just be like, wow,
exactly. That's like Stray was saying, people like worked lettuce when we went and raided him. Perfect
example. Perfect example. And Kafidget's a good one for me. It was like, I was able to say, get my community and Kafidget's a good example of someone who not only streams in the community but hangs out and participates, and he's done so well so fast. And I think that's why that's a sign to me that Makers and Crafters has evolved since when I started. It's really there's 10 times more love, 100 times more love.
Totally. And that's what's so good about it. And that's what I want this show to be about as well. It's about showing that love, and sharing that, and people just going, well, hey, look at all these lovely people, and thank you so much for being with us, Llama.
Incoming!
And talking about Kafidget, guess who's just turned up with a lovely raid. That timing, guys. Let's drop some newts for them. Drop some newts. Can we drop some newts? Not wrong one.
Totally.
Drop some newts for the Kafidget raid.
Thank you, Kafidget. We just gave you a beautiful shout out. You're a beautiful man. Yeah, you're a bit of a, I won't say it. We're going to do the sock line. Then that slide back there, I'm in socks, so you know.
Welcome in, Raiders.
Yeah, but I'm glad I could be your first on the podcast. I'm break that ice and make you realize that, you know, it's just me and you chatting, and we do this me and Laser do this most evenings. We chat on voice. I think it's most evenings, pretty much. At some point we miss maybe 2 or 3 in a week, but and that's all it is. So.
Yeah, while playing Dual Universe mostly.
DOOTNOOT.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's always fun, and it's that bit. It's just that bit of where we're just creating community. We're creating a fun environment for people. There's no brown sauce today, Fidget. Turned off most things, but
big shout out, shout out to the TLC. There we go.
A huge shout out to the TLC. TLC is my family. Totally. All the lovely folk in the TLC. It should be a stream team. We need to get somebody to get a partner so we become a stream team proper. We're already a stream team. Yeah. And it's
thank you, and I wish you all the best with this. This podcast.
A second raid for no apparent reason from Fidget. Don't know what happened there, Fidget. Sorry, what were you saying, Llama?
I wish you all the best with this project. I've always said, if anyone's going to help bring the community even more together, and not just on Twitch, but in other platforms and stuff like that, like taking this to other places and showcasing everybody and making people aware of the makers and crafters community. You're the man for the job.
Thank you very much.
All my love and support to you with the project, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that next week I'll have a guest. I've got to make a couple of messages to a couple of people, because I know next Thursday is Thanksgiving for America, so it might be a bit awkward. So I might even change it to another day, but we will see what happens. But I do have a guest for the following week, so we're definitely going to be on then. So Turkey Day, totally Turkey Day. Yeah, but what I'm saying, we need to jump on Discord. There's a channel in the Discord, people. If you want to put in for the weekly show off, definitely put. What was going on there, Llama? You just firing off fireballs. Stop firing off fireballs now. Cannonballs.
I'm seeing if I can reach Scotland. Yeah, hit up the Discord.
Knock them away. Stop it. Stop firing them at me.
I go over.
And the chips. Yeah. There we go. Back this. No, because they're just going to be firing paninis at me.
No, it's fine. I'm off.
No, you're not. Get back up here. Get back up. Stop it.
All right. Yeah.
Get back up. Right. Okay, guys, it's been absolutely amazing. As I say, I'll hopefully be back next Thursday. But I'll definitely be back on Monday for the next back in the workshop stream. When's your next stream, Llama? When are you next streaming? Do you know? Or is it just whenever at the moment?
Lady Llama's birthday tomorrow. So not a Saturday straight. Tuesday. Yeah, it'll be Tuesday. Totally Tuesday.
Post that. There we go. But guys, go give DioramaLama a follow if you're not already following Llama. And definitely go and check him out. Get into his channel.
If you're in the US, think of me when you're having your first cup of coffee and think, DioramaLama will be on.
Yep.
It's freaking 5 a.m. Yes, I will.
Yeah, but thank you everybody for hanging out. Let's go see who we're going to take everyone to. That's the question. Who are we going to take everyone to? I'm going to do this on my phone, because if I don't do it on my phone, If I do it on here, it's going to be awkward. Because I've set this up stupidly. Do an after show. Stop firing paninis at me. Or Paganinis.
The Paganini. Get your Paganinis and your paninis worked out, Laser.
Good. Do an after show. We'll jump on the Discord and we'll do an after show on the Discord. Who is on? Oh, no. Since she was your recommended, we are going to go and raid her.
I'm sorry, Laser. What are we doing?
We're going to go and raid Triz, Arabella.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah? Are you okay with that, Arabella?
Yes, that's lovely.
Yes, I know.
Love you, Laser.
Oh, thank you. Don't make me do it. Where's Max? Where's he hiding?
He's busy.
Is he busy? Oh. Llama. Stop it, Llama. Right. He's busy up to no good. He's totally up to no good.
Sorry, I can hear you laughing, Llama. And you too, Laser. It's not very funny. I don't see what's funny.
Oh, right. Okay, guys. We got the right person here. Yeah, I've got the right person in here. What's going on here? Stop it. There we go. Right, we're going to raid Triz. There we go. Right. Thank you, everybody, for today. Triz. You guys have been amazing. You guys have been awesome. Go check out Llama, and we shall see you on the next stream. You guys are...
Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye, Arabella. Goodbye, Llama. Goodbye, everybody. Oh, let's hit that button. Let's totally hit that button. This was fun. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, Bruno. Let's hit the button, guys. There we go.